This is Perp back with another episode. This is the final episode of Horror Never Dies. Welcome to the final episode. Welcome. I got some guests in the back. I'm gonna let them in real quick. What up, Terrence?
Hello, Perp. How
What
you
up?
doing, my friend?
What up, Rashad?
What's good, G? What's going on, Terrence?
Yeah,
Hey, what's going on, Rashad?
They can't
it's
call it
been a
missing.
minute. It's been a minute, Terrence. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. It has been a minute.
Yeah. I had to get you up in here because I was like, bro, I keep forgetting. You know what I'm saying? But it's always season two and stuff. I'll definitely shoot you. Invite you more when that comes along. But yeah, this is the final episode of Horror Never Dies season one. Um, and in this episode, we're gonna mainly not yet, but it's mainly going to be talking about the future of horror, where it can go. A year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, yada yada yada. Before we get into that, though, just wanted to kind of let people know what I've been watching or what you should be watching, what you should kind of avoid. Starting off with fucking Five Nights at Freddy. This shit was just garbage, dumpster fire, trash. And just going into this, like I have my review up right now, but people just talking about the game and the lore and stuff. It got me interested. I was like, okay, that's cool. But then when you get to actually see the movie, it's just like, what is this PG-13 nonsense where this doesn't even feel like a horror movie at times. It really feels like a PG horror movie. It's very bizarre. But Terrence, did you get a chance to check this out?
Yes, I actually saw that about 4 hours ago with some friends because they were into the video game
Hmm.
and they were like, "Hey, you want to check this out?" And I was like, "Sure." So, I went into it not knowing, anything about the game other than its existence. And when I came out of it, I was like, the movie is okay to me. Like I thought it was solid, but to me, I felt that without knowing about the game, that there were a lot of wasted opportunities. Like I felt like the first 30 minutes, like 30 to 40 minutes, were very boring, and then
Hmm.
after that, it got a little bit more interesting for me, but it never fully reached the bar that it should have. Right. So then
Hmm.
my friends, they felt the same sort of way as I did, even though they were coming at it from a fan perspective. And I thought that was interesting that we had pretty much the same opinion, like fans and non-fans alike, that it was just all right, nothing special.
Those flashback scenes didn't get annoying to you. That really annoyed the fuck out of me. But
You know, when they first started happening, I was kind of interested, and then I lost interest, like based upon it kind of going too much. Because to me, when it comes to flashbacks, they should keep your interest all the time. Otherwise, they lose their power in the point of how they, they
yeah,
use the story. So, I
right.
wasn't really feeling them most of the time.
Yeah, it was lacking with the kills. Like I said, there's only like one kill that stands up, but that was like in the shadows where the chick got cut in half and stuff. I was like, that'd been cool if this was rated R. But that
Yeah,
immediately
yeah.
after I got done that movie, I was like, I gotta watch Willy's Wonderland and stuff. I just popped that on. I was like, this is much better
Yo,
version.
high five perp. That was another thing that I mentioned once we got in the car. And I was like, did y'all see that Nicolas Cage movie? To
Yeah.
me, that was more like, what I was told the Five Nights of Freddy game is, right? As opposed to what we got with the actual movie. And I found that to be crazy, right? Like, how
Yeah.
is something that's not the game more like the game than the movie that's
Even
supposed to be representing the game?
even that movie, I never seen it though, but I want to kind of check it out now. That Banana Split, whatever. I forget what the
Mm,
when that came
okay,
out, but
okay.
Rashad, did you get a chance to check this out?
Hell no.
Yeah, it's on Peacock too. It's on Peacock too, so it's on streaming and whatnot. So it's like you don't even
Nah,
want to bother your time to even go to the theaters to watch this. To be honest.
nah. I'm good. And especially now hearing that the first 30 minutes was like boring and
Yeah, you
like
would
Perp,
fall
like
asleep. You would have fell asleep.
you
Yeah.
know me, bro. You know me. I'll be counting sheep, nigga. Nah.
Rashad,
So
man,
Yeah.
I kid you not, man. That shit was like
Sorry.
I don't ever want to like leave like a movie, like walk out of something. But I thought about it. I was like, man, should I walk out? I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Like, but
yeah,
it
Foot
felt
started
like,
tapping.
yeah, yeah. It just like it felt like a more of a drama than a horror film. Did you feel like that, Perp, at first?
Yeah, that's why I was like, yo, what is this movie trying to be? Like, it's like goes from this like almost drama and then somewhat horror, and then it just turns into like a kiddie shit. I was like, bro, why are you trying to be like best friends with these animatronics? Like, no, that's not okay.
I
Oh
mean, what,
yeah,
is it aimed towards kids though? Like for
Yeah,
example, my
yeah,
7 year old,
yeah,
will probably like it.
yeah. He'll
yeah,
probably, you know what I'm saying? It's very
Okay,
tamed, very
okay,
tamed.
yeah. I can picture Rashad like kids liking it more. Like I said, I didn't hate it, but it just
Hmm.
from a writing standpoint, it could have been. I feel like it was a waste of potential because like when you finally see the animatronics like front and center, I was like, that shit looks creepy as hell. That's like when I used to go to Chuck E. Cheese as a kid, like that shit was fun, right? And I
Yeah,
feel like the Five Nights of Freddy's situation would be like if you couldn't go to Chuck E. Cheese and it was like a bootleg one, but it was like
yeah,
something that was run by a serial killer or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
wow.
yeah. A lot of missed opportunities. But talking about a movie that did drop this weekend that people should watch, is When Evil Lurks. Like, I love that. Like, more people are starting to kind of it's starting to go
Oh
down the
yeah.
zeitgeist a little bit. You know what I'm saying? The word of mouth is spreading like this is the horror movie of the year,
Hmm.
and I can't doubt nobody. Like, 'cause I said that the first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is easily a horror movie of the year, but possibly. Nah, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna go too far, but yeah, it's definitely the best movie of the year. Terrence, have you seen this yet?
No, I have not. I heard of it, and you know me, I like to try to watch everything, so I'm a watch it when I can.
Do you have Shutter?
No, I don't. My
Okay.
friends, they have Shutter though, so yeah.
I'm gonna hook you up with something after the stream. Like after this stream, bro, you gotta go watch that immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'll send you a
shit's
Okay,
joint.
fire. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
fire.
okay,
that shit. That brings possession movies to like a whole new level. And like the more I thought about it, I was like, yo, they really did like something very unique with that movie. I'm not gonna go too heavy into it, but um yeah, that was a phenomenal movie, and it's dope to see more and more people kind of like spreading the word. Some certain channels that I never thought they would like cover it or covered it and stuff like that. And it's a art. It's got subtitles, but like don't let that stop you from checking out the movie at all. And you know what I'm saying? It's just a phenomenal movie. I just wanted to shout that out.
I mean,
But
shit.
but
Yeah, I mean, you could almost watch it like without any audio, and still it'll affect you, man. Just the visuals by itself will get you. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
well,
Yeah.
well, let me ask this, like, so for someone like myself that has seen countless horror movies, right, across different countries and all that, like, what do you feel that movie's gonna do to impress someone like me?
oh, bro, you're gonna see. I'm not gonna spoil them, but you'll definitely be like, oh, there's gonna be a moment you're like, oh, fuck, like they went
Yeah.
there. It's one of those, you know, um, have you ever seen the movie Terrified? It's the same
Right.
director from that.
I was just about to that's funny. High five, Perp. I was just about to say, is it like Terrifier, like,
No,
shock?
Terrified. It's a
Oh,
different.
Terrifier. Oh, I
Yeah,
got you.
it's
I
a
got
different
you.
joke, but
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, it's definitely like I would say it's this year's Terrifier too, though. Like as far as like how it handles its gore, it's a really well told story. It's a really well shot story, movie as well. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be up your alley, yo, bro. I'm telling you, like,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. But
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah,
speaking,
anytime I can watch a movie and I yell out "What the fuck" in the theater loud, that means that the movie did something, and I did yell
yeah,
it out loud too. Yeah,
because that shit will fuck with you, bro. Like I still think about that. I'm like, man, that shit's gonna fuck with a lot of people, especially if you're not it. Like you don't see what's if you go into a completely blind, yeah, you're gonna be like, yo, this shit's fucked up. But speaking of Terrifier, they are having their re-release in November.
November 2nd, right? I think November 2nd.
November 1st.
Oh, the
November
first,
1st.
okay.
And they're doing something special with this re-release where they're putting out the teaser trailer, which is going to be like a 2-minute trailer for Terrifier 3, and they're also giving like at least 100 people like the poster and the poster leak. You know what I'm saying? Because Rashad sent me this, and then it started kind of just going through the grapevine, so they had to already kind of like confirm it. But I want to bring up these tweets right here because like I kind of like foreshadowed this a little bit.
Yeah, you called it, bro. You predicted that. That's why I sent you the post. I said, "Oh shit, Purple predicted this."
Yeah, because I was like, bro, it'd be so dope to have like art in like a Christmas setting, and here goes the poster right here.
Fire.
And I was just like, man, I need that poster. I need that shit.
Yeah.
I need that too, and one just the whole Trinity right there, and I just that has to be exciting, and just the way that they're rolling out these movies, like as far as putting out the trailer this early. You know what I'm saying? Probably get Terrifier 3 maybe towards the end of October, or probably around the same time, like a year from now. Or I would be cool with them just dropping in December or something like that. That'd be really interesting. You know what I'm saying? For them to actually drop it, like since it's a Christmas movie, and with them having a way bigger budget, I'm curious to see what kill they're going to do in this. That's going to top that bedroom scene. My mind comes to, like, we're talking about Christmas. Obviously, he's going to kill a Santa Claus, whether that's like a mall Santa Claus or whatnot. But I feel like he has to, like, he could probably recreate the Last Supper or some shit. Like, how everybody's sitting on the table and shit like that, doing something like that, or just like a large body count of just multiple people he just slaughtered and stuff like that. Or, they're gonna do something. They're gonna do something big with that.
It's something incorporating Christmas dinner also, kind of like with the mashed potato thing, but like with with the turkey or whatnot. Or I don't know.
Yeah, Terrence. You've seen both Terrifiers, right?
Yes, I have.
What's your thought? What's your thoughts on it? I don't think I ever got your input.
I enjoy both movies. The second one a little bit more because, like, the first movie, when I was watching it, when Art the Clown came on the screen, I was just like, damn, what's going on with him? Like, because like with me, when I watch horror movies, I don't get scared, but it's like I'm either gonna like a character or the story or both, right? So with him, I took a liking to him just because I was like, what is he gonna do? And then from there, it was just about seeing what he would do, and he would always do something crazy. And then we got crazier stuff with the sequel, and I'm like, regardless of whatever they're doing with the story, I'm always like, what is he gonna do next? Like just ringing somebody's doorbell, smiling, like, oh look what I have inside of my bag. Yeah, what you think about that?
Shorty, like she deserved that just because I was like, bro, just give bro candy. You didn't have to like insult him. You know what I'm saying? Like all he wanted was some candy.
You know what?
Like, well, nah, but either way, she was dead, bro. Come on, Art ain't got a nice bone in his body, man. Even if she did give him candy, he still would have fucked her up. Probably not as bad, but he still would have fucked her up.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. Like, okay, I know she's gonna die, right? And then I was just like, look, he looked crazy as hell. You just give him one piece of candy and slam the door in his face, or punch him and close the door. Because if I opened my door on Halloween and somebody looked like that and just with the hands on the chin, smiling with a bag, I'd have been like, you got 2 seconds.
Grown ass man.
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed both movies very much, and it was just like, how did they do that with the intestines and the like whenever I see
the practical effects,
right.
are just like really good, like really good.
The practical effects were amazing because I'm also a fan of stuff like the Hellraiser movies, right? Especially the first 4. So when I see like really good, makeup and practical effects, I really like that, especially when it's consistent, right? They stay the course with that, and they try to remind you like, this looks so practical. We want you to think that we really murdered somebody. Like we want you to question it. Like this is not a movie. They found some footage or something like that. So, that said, I'm excited about the third movie. I'm like, what is he gonna do this time? That's always my thought.
Yeah, and it's like the budget's like $1 million or something like that. So like
Well,
we
Right.
see what he could do with like Terrifier 2 with only like $250,000. Like, now it's just like what's going to top that bedroom scene, even on top of like, the chick that got the acid thrown in her face, and you know what I'm saying? Like there's so much shit in Terrifier 3 that's like got me interested in. It's gonna be like that Christmas. I wonder what the music's gonna sound like if they do some like 80s like Christmas, like that's just gonna be so fucking dope, man. I can't
What
wait.
about what about when that little girl clown, like when she popped up and
Yeah,
she
she's
was
creepy
with
as
him?
fuck too.
When I
mhm.
saw
The little
both of them
pup.
together, I remember I was just like, what kind of cheating shit is that? I'm like, I don't know
That's
what it
you,
is, but
you you hit it on the nose though, like because Terrence, like, you know what I'm saying, like Art cheats, bro. He don't play by the slasher rules, bro. He'll pull out a gun on you. That's what really made me fuck with Art, bro. Like in Terrifier, when he pulled out that gun, you thought like old girl had some shit. Like, nah, he just gonna pull out the wop and just
right. It like his movements, it didn't make no sense because the way I conduct myself in real life, I'm always like, why you gotta do stuff like that? Or why you gotta talk like this, right? So like, Art, the way that he conducts himself in the horror genre, like you said, you expect him like, oh, what you gonna do with that knife? And then he'll just smile and just pull out an AK-47 out of nowhere.
Mhm.
yeah, like where he does the clown cafe scene where he just
Yeah.
pulls out a whole Tommy gun and just starts like fucking shooting
It's
everybody.
like
Like
where
it's
it's like
crazy.
where did that come from? Like he's so bizarre and creative. That's why I was like, you don't need a partner or a friend or a daughter. Like you don't like you don't need none of that. And with kids, like I don't know what it is with kids and horror movies, but even the ones that are supposedly nice, I'm like, there's something wrong with that kid. Hell no, get that little
Yeah,
kid out of here. You know what I mean?
facts. Yeah, facts. But yeah, like yeah, Terrifier 3 is coming. But I'm definitely gonna be checking out the re-release to see what that teaser trailer is hitting for. And I love that it's just it's gonna be like a full 2 minute trailer, 2.5 minute or some shit like that. So I don't know when they're gonna officially release it online. Probably they'll wait off. It's definitely gonna leak online, but
Oh
when
yeah.
they officially put it out, they'll probably start off the top of the year or something like that, or probably put out an alternate version. But yeah, I definitely want to get my hands on that poster. I'm excited for Terrifier 3. But let's get into the main topic and stuff and go from there. The future of horror. Now, I could kind of kick it off with like saying like I'd always like to see what's going to be the next like big thing, like with like speaking about Terrifier 2, like that created its own like kind of subgenre, like the mega slashers and stuff like that. I don't know how long that's gonna stick, but what's gonna be the next like big subgenre or the next big, horror thing. And I was starting to think like, yo, we don't get a lot of like interactive movies like that. And I see why, because those are kind of pretty difficult to do. And I always thought it'd be cool to have like an interactive slasher where you start the movie or whatnot, you could choose to be a victim or the killer, so you would see it from kind of two different angles, and you get multiple different paths. You could choose to let somebody live, or you know, um, ultimately kill them. That's just kind of like one of my ideas. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that because what was that Black Mirror Bandersnatch, whatever? Like that was a really cool movie, and how to like utilize the choices and stuff like that, and you could play around with multiple different endings. Obviously, I know you can't do interactive movies in theaters because it's like, how do you interact with something that you got like no control over or nothing like that? But like, that's just one thing that comes to mind. Rashad, how about you? Like, where do you see horror going, or what would you like to see in the future?
Well, you know what? I don't want to see the more elevated horror. That's for sure. So that's why Terrifier 2 is such a breath of fresh air, man. Because I mean, I respect the whole intelligent horror thing where okay, it makes you think and all that stuff, and yeah, okay, I respect all that, man. But look, I'm from the old school, bro. So I like my horror movies dirty, grimy. You know what I'm saying? I like for example, I just watched Demons for the first time the other day, right? And that
Yeah,
movie made
finally.
that movie. Yeah, I'm gonna post my reaction to it in a couple of days. That movie made me feel so uncomfortable. And so, like, I had to take a shower after I watched that shit, and I couldn't eat nothing for like
I,
hours.
I gotta ask you though, how did you feel
Yeah.
about Tony's character?
So was that the black dude?
Yeah.
Oh man, I got a kick out of him, bro. I loved him. I loved him. Yo, he put me in the mind of Samuel L. Jackson in Deep Blue Sea, and that's exactly what happened to him.
Yo, Tony is such an underrated. But now, when we get to Hank though and Demons too though, like that's
Yeah,
what sold me on his character as well. But he is just like he's just such the comic relief in those movies and stuff like that. And he's just like he's really real. Like he just goes. There's like yeah, like just be yourself, bro.
yeah. Nah, exactly. But yeah, but back to I mean, I like dirty horror. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it
Mhm.
has to be a balance. So I don't mind the Ari Aster type horror
Yeah,
movies. Every now and then. But I want to see more Terrifier type stuff. And then your boy Damien Leone is even talking about he wants to tackle Jason. He's interested in doing
that'd be
directing a
crazy.
Friday the 13th movie, and I'm down for that. Like
Yeah.
that's my kind of horror right there. So yeah,
Okay.
that's where I want to see it go. To answer
Okay,
your question.
Terrence. How about you, Terrence? Where would you want to? What would you want to see more of, or do you have an idea of like what you would want to see next in horror?
That's a good question. I mean, just going all the way back to when I was a kid, when I was introduced to horror films, and then started writing short horror stories when I was in middle school, and just trying to come up with a lot of ideas, and then seeing what Hollywood did over the years as I was growing up. I think that it's very difficult to do any sort of horror film or series that hasn't been done before. It's a big
Hmm.
challenge because a lot of times there are influences, and more often than not, nowadays we get a bunch of sequels and reboots and remakes and reimaginings, and it's kind of, if I like a certain character, it's like, oh, okay, there's a sequel, that's cool, hopefully I like it. But I always
Right.
appreciate the idea of being original, like you're trying something and we've never seen it before, and then just really seeing how it's executed. And then can it be easy, is it either going to be like a one-off thing, or they're trying to make it into a franchise? I think that what happens a lot is when you get something that is unique, there's always the money angle, right? They want to make more
Yeah.
money, so they make a million sequels. I think that the focus should always be on characters and story first, and you shouldn't even be thinking about the money, because if you do what you're supposed to do, the money's going to come in.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. Or if it doesn't, you'll have such a strong word of mouth that if you do plan on doing something else, that they'll be there the next time around. They won't make that same mistake. Like, no, we got to be part of this. And then it turns into what I call an event. And an
Yeah.
event is the best thing you can ask for when it comes to any movie, especially a horror film. Like, if you got a bunch of humans that are united in their mindset or their fear or whatever's going on with that plot. So I think that the future of horror, if it's going to continue, they must do away with doing stuff that we've already seen with franchises. They got to stick more to original concepts, and good
Hmm.
ones at that, not just hey, look who's in it, right, just to get your
Yeah.
attention. I mean, the
I agree.
story and the characters have to come first.
And I would say like we're starting to kind of see a shift in that, especially when you look at like what the legacy horror movies are doing nowadays compared to like something original. Like Smile
Mhm.
came out last year, made over
Right,
$200 million. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So it's like there are definitely, and I think that's the benefit to horror because like horror fans will support anything legacy or new. Compared to like you try to throw out a comic book movie now, like a lot of people not gonna be really interested or give it a chance most of the time.
well, that's
So I
because
think
but that's because they as we both know, Perp, a lot of them that make those movies, they're not fans. They don't know the character. They don't respect it, right? They just think that if they make one, like, oh, we're taken from this comic book or this character, they think that humans are automatically going to show up. But it's been
hmm
proven that that's not the case anymore. So they have just grown inherently lazy when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, most definitely. And you mentioned the money, yeah, like and too many, whenever a successful horror franchise gets popular or a successful horror movie gets popular, they want to just make 10 sequels. I'm looking at you, Saw. Like that to
Right.
me, I feel like Saw should just been one fucking movie like that. Just to kind of sit on that, to just be like, yo, like this old man just kind of tricked everybody, and like I think that it would have a stronger, it'd been much stronger. Like you could have probably made three, but it's just like don't go past three. But it is
But
what it is now.
you know what's interesting is that Saw is $1 billion franchise, right? And if you listen to a lot of these horror directors and producers, that is their dream for their franchise to become $1 billion, right? Because that never
Hmm.
happens. That's so rare, especially with horror, right? To have something like, the Conjuring franchise or Saw, where it's like, it pushing past $1 billion, and that it
Hmm.
becomes like a tradition, if you will, that every year, every Halloween or whatever, you got a new installment coming out. And even when certain installments are lacking, it's just that overall interest of like, oh, what are they doing now? What's happening next? Or
Right.
what can they do this time
And,
that we haven't seen? And it creates this collective conversation.
and it's interesting that you mentioned that because like one of my episodes was episode 7 where we talked about what could be like what's going to be the horror movie that hit $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? The first it in 2017 hit 700 million. And I'm wondering, like, I don't really, I remember it, like the marketing, but it's just like, what was it about that movie that gained so much attention? And will a horror movie ever be able to hit like a billion just off the rip, not over like consecutive movies and stuff like that? Even though, like, you're right though, having a horror franchise hit a billion is really impressive, but what's going to be the horror movie to hit a billion? Like, is it possible? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
That's a great question.
the key to that is marketing, man. Because I think what really helped it was the marketing, man. It had a really dope ass campaign behind marketing campaign behind it, and then word of mouth too. So the
Mhm.
combination of those two is what I mean. Because you look historically, like Blair Witch, you know what I'm saying? Blair Witch is a trash ass movie, but Blair Witch has such dope ass marketing and such word of mouth. Like, oh my god, this really happened. This is real, and people was curious about that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's gonna take a combination of those two to determine the next potentially $1 billion horror movie and how they can
Well,
sell it.
it's okay. So, uh, number one, that's a great question. But the thing with it that humans have to take in consideration is that, number one, it had, two movies before that, that came out when I was a kid, right? So then by the time you get the newer one, I was like in my late 20s. So really, if you look at marketing, marketing is very important. But at the same time, we have seen many examples of marketing well by these different studios, and it does nothing. Like they turn into flops, or humans don't care to go to the theater to spend their money. So when you
Mhm.
market something, that's the best thing that you can do. But what you cannot control is the hype of humans. The hype
Yeah.
will
Not with that.
create
Not with
itself regardless of what you do. So that's the question mark that will never be solved, because you never know. It takes on a life of its own, right? That's why you have all these directors and studios like, hey, we had no faith in it and it turned into this, or we had all the faith in it and we did all this stuff and then it didn't work. Like, what happened? And they can never really explain it, because that momentum is crazy. Like when it picks up, you're talking about like within the span of a week or two, your film is going to do juggernaut numbers. And it's really hard for an R-rated movie to make that kind of money anyway, let alone
Right.
something of a horrific nature. So that would also have to harker back to what I said some moments ago about, if you make a horror movie feel like an event to where everyone's like, we got to see that. Oh, so and
Yeah.
so is going to see that. We want to be part of the conversation. If you can do that and you can keep them away from like that kind of looks interesting, but I'll watch it later. If you have
Yeah.
chatter about I will watch it later, you're done. Your stuff falls. It fails. You don't
Well,
want
no,
that.
that's what I was saying. Like, it has to be a combination of the two, the marketing and the word of mouth. So I mean, like you can market something like it's the best thing since Jesus walked on water, but if the movie's trash and nobody's talking about it, nobody's gonna care. You just wasted your money. But word of mouth is everything. So fortunately, it was a dope ass movie and people talked about it. So guess what? Now people are coming out in droves to go see it. So yeah, it's a combination of the both of them. Like, I'll give you another example. Evil Dead 2. When Evil Dead 2 came out, that movie had almost like no marketing. Sam Raimi actually cheated to get a non-rating for it because the MPAA was going to give it. They was going to slap an NC-17, and somehow he was
Oh, that
able
would have
to.
killed it.
Yeah, so he was able to do a loophole where he got it in the theater, but it was non-rated though, so it went under the radar. But the first 2 weeks, that movie flopped like crazy. Like nobody talked about it. But the few people that did go see it raved about it so much, where every week that passed after that, the movie started climbing up in the numbers until it cracked like the number 5, like in the top 5, and it took like about a few months for it to do that. You know what I'm saying? So
And
yeah,
I like that. I like that like theaters are starting to do that because you start to see that with like Terrifier 2, and now it's just like you see a lot more like independent,
mm-hmm.
non-rated horror movies pop up in like AMC's or Regals and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like, or you could probably do the Jaws effect where a lot of people don't even realize that Jaws is a horror movie. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And
Mm-hmm.
that was very captivating for a lot of people for that time.
Right.
And that's the
But
thing, right? Because like you can't whenever something pops off, right? You always have like directors and actors and producers alike, like, oh, we want to have this sort of reaction. It's like there are certain things that are an anomaly, right? Like with
yeah,
Terrifier, I
Mm-hmm.
found out about that because of some articles. There was no advertisement for that whatsoever. I had to see a thumbnail and go, oh, what the hell is that? And then just by reading it, then I decided to watch it. Like that's the kind of stuff that, and then the box office started going up a little bit. I'm like, you can't recreate lightning in a bottle like that. And then to have it transfer over to a subsequent sequel, like that just doesn't happen. So like I think it
mhm,
would be a mistake to try to say that we should do this. It's like you can't be that. If you're lucky, you can be more than that, but you can't be what that project was.
yeah,
Right.
it's a good point. It's a good point because like I said, that movie had a budget of like $250,000 and ended up making 10 million. That to me is like hitting like a billion, like you know what I'm saying, or even something like Talk to Me, where I think that was like a budget of like 4 million or something like that, 4.5,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around
Right.
that ballpark, and it made like take like 80 million or something like that, or like 90 million, which is like
Right.
it's really dope. And that's another thing that I think studios got to look into is just you don't need to throw like $200 million behind a movie because you're not gonna always get that shit back. So like scale that shit down,
Right.
and you know what I'm saying. Look at like something like X and Pearl, where both of those were made for like $1 million or shit like that, and they're using the same location. Both very successful movies and stuff like that. So it's a
Great,
lot of
great
things.
point. Because
Yeah,
it's always about, like I tell humans, I'm like, there are plenty of times, right? Like you mentioned the comic book stuff earlier. I'm like, how many fan comic book films that I've seen that are better than what Hollywood makes, and they have practically no money. It's
Facts.
yeah,
because they are
Facts.
passionate. They have a want to tell a story. If you are
Facts.
passionate and creative, you don't need 200 million. A lot of the time, like these big budgets for any type of genre movie is to make them look flashy or to pay for a specific actor that's going to
yeah,
help pump your movie up. But that's not what makes your stuff good. It all starts with your writing, right? The writer got to be on point, then you get your cast, and then you get your director. Those areas are more important than any type of budget that you can slap on, because someone like me, they'll be like, oh man, look, $250 million budget horror movie, yay, and this and that. I'm like, look, y'all got a lot of nice fancy locations. This is very pretty. But guess what? This is a steaming pile of horse shit because you ain't got no substance.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Cause it's interesting, to see even like, take something like we go bring it back to like the legacy stuff. Um, they want to take the Halloween franchise now and make it into a cinematic universe, which a lot of people's head turned. But that's something different, you know what I'm saying, for like a horror franchise. Because I always thought it'd be dope to have like these different slashers all in one like universe. Like something will go on. Like Crystal Lake is an actual place where somewhere in Haddonfield, you know what I'm saying, like, Mike Myers exists and Freddy is actually a thing where it's like almost kind of like spoken about like as a myth or something like that. Or, you got a ghost face killer. Like you can have all these slashers existing in in the same universe. I thought that would be dope. So when they announced that they want to kind of do a cinematic universe where they'll make like a TV show that leads into movies and stuff like that, that sounds good on paper. Like, and they could butcher it, but I think there's a lot you could play around with that type of concept. And maybe, other that's probably the next wave for these franchised these legacy horror movies instead of doing requels all the time and stuff like that. So
You
Well,
know what
I
though?
think wasn't that the original goal for like when they did Freddy versus Jason? Like if that movie would have did good numbers, they was gonna expand it and bring more. You know what I'm saying? More legacy
yeah, I
Well,
think it
characters
was
and
I think
stuff
it was
like
supposed to
that.
be Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. I think the next one was supposed to be or
the,
something
Yeah.
like
well,
that.
the original plan for that was that they were going to do a two, that they were going to fight again, and then
Mm.
because like when they did that one, like you're talking about, that started way back with Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, right? And then when Freddy pulled the mask under the
Right.
ground, the people was like, wait, what the hell? They're in the same universe? And then it
Yeah.
just all these years went by, and then they did it, but they were kind of nervous. They're like, we don't know if it's going to work, and it did. So then they were just like, we're going to work on a second one and have them fight again. And then they were like, we're going to expand after that. And then nothing ever happened again after that, which is a wasted opportunity because, to their own surprise, the hype was there and it stayed for over 7 years, and then it died off because they took too long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And they took too long even because actually that was supposed to happen in the 80s, believe it or not. But
Yeah.
I think after Dream Warriors and Jason Lives, it was like, well, what if Freddy and Jason fought each other? But of course, Freddy's owned by New Line Cinema, Jason's Paramount. You know what I'm saying? So two different studios. They couldn't work nothing out. But then when New Line Cinemas acquired Jason, then it's like, okay, boom, we can make it happen. But like you said, Terrence, too little, too late. You know what I'm saying?
And it's
They waited
interesting that
too long.
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think they mentioned this in Robert Englund's documentary about Freddy versus Jason, where like they had to get a whole new Jason actor and stuff. It wasn't like the one that people
Yeah.
Yeah,
wanted to kind of
and I
see.
was mad about that. Yeah, because Kane Hodder's Jason, man.
Yeah,
They
Kate
should have been
Hodder. Yep.
Kane Hodder versus Robert Englund. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
He
understand that
was.
choice because they wanted to get a Jason that's like kind of like a force, like he just looks like
He
a
was a lot
huge
bigger.
ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But here's the thing, right? Like with the cinematic universe with the slashers, like say if they were to do that, I am predicting that if they do that, like I think number one, it's gonna fail. And then if it doesn't, it will be the equivalent of Candy, right? It'll be like these cheer-worthy moments, but when you break it all down, it's very sloppy and it don't have a good story. It's just meant to distract you with the fact of cameos and things. Like I don't think it would be anywhere near as sophisticated as what you had with the universal horror monsters like Frankenstein, the
hmm
Wolfman, the creature from the Black Lagoon, the Invisible Man, and all them. Like it's not going to be anywhere near as sophisticated as that. I
but
think if they were to do that.
well, wouldn't you say that's like the next logical step instead of like say, oh, we're gonna just create? Well, they are technically creating a whole nother timeline because I don't think there's going to be a Laurie Strode in this next Halloween thing, whatever, and they're
Mhm.
probably just gonna. Which I think that's good for Halloween. Just like you could still have Michael in it, just make new characters and stuff like that.
Right.
And
I
you know,
will I will show up to this, like if they drop a trailer and I don't see Michael or Lori, I will show up to the studio and perp like you may never hear from me again. I'm gonna be
But I also
wilding out.
but I also like the idea of them trying to go back to that original idea that Carpenter had. Like you could literally set it up like this because they're doing a TV series as well. Like the TV series could be more of an anthology that
Mhm.
interconnects with the movies. You know, they can hint at certain things in these things, but they're all kind of like their own standalone kind of story, but also still kind of they can also connect to the bigger picture with the movies. Like you save Michael for the movies, but you could also do like kind of like a season of the witch kind of continuation or like kind of expand upon that throughout the series or
Yeah.
just do different kind of
Um,
things within the series and stuff
But you
like
got
that.
but you got
because
to come up with
I
something. You got
hated, but I hated Season of the Witch though. Like that's why like
I like
yeah.
that though. I like that
Well,
movie.
Terrence, I was just gonna say that, bro. I'm like, listen, like you can't follow up Michael Myers with the movie like see, like I respect what they were trying to do, but bro, you gotta come up with something more fire than that. You know what I'm saying? You go from Michael Myers, who's an iconic character, to Season of the Witch. Hell no, that's why
Right,
that shit
Rashad.
work.
It doesn't work because even back then, right? Because it's like if it were just a regular horror movie, that'd have been different. But because it followed Halloween 2, the
Yeah.
fans didn't like that. In fact, it almost killed the whole franchise. They had to call the fourth movie The Return of Michael Myers just to
Yeah.
let humans know, hey, my bad. Hey, we messed up. Your boy is back. You
but
know,
that,
he was just in a coma, like.
but at the same time, like you know, Season of Witch wasn't a bad movie though. Like I thought that was a pretty dope movie, and I understand like yeah, it's just like you kind of like at that time too, like they didn't have access to social media and all that stuff, so it's like you're hearing Halloween 3 and just like oh shit yeah another Michael, then you go to see it, there's no Michael.
You're
I
like,
can
what
understand
the
that.
fuck? Like, it's like, okay, so as a movie, I thought it was okay, but it's just the fact that because it's in the franchise, I have to address it is that. And it's like, if you, based upon like, especially with the newer generation, they're more keen to like the recent Halloween trilogy, and then they may have gone back and watched one or two or whatever, but that's what they know. So it would be very jarring to start without Laurie and Michael unless you can make sure that the audience understands that it's going to go back to them. Like the new characters are going to get their shit wrecked. Surprise is by Michael, and the
So
only one that can stop them is Laurie, kind of thing.
so you would be okay if you would be okay with somebody else playing a Laurie Strode like a different like not like a different Laurie Strode if they were going to
Um,
like just do a
okay,
completely
I'll,
different.
I'll, I'll say this per. At first, it'll be like, I ain't watching this shit, right? I'm like, nope, I ain't watching it. What you mean? I'm like, where's Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, it would have to win me over, but at least to me, that would be better than just, oh, this is Sydney and oh, this is Charles. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what is this? And they're like, oh, they're in Haddonfield and blah blah. But
But if they
even
just make it a dope like final girl like that could just be on par or just kind of stand on by herself, like you'd be okay with it.
if okay, so with what you said, like honestly, while that would be extremely distasteful to me, if it's
Hmm.
written a certain way, then objectively I'd be able to give it its props, but at the same time, I will unfortunately be unsatisfied because when I think of Halloween, it's Laurie and Michael. Like
Yeah.
it would have to get back to that. So to me, to do away with that entirely and it just be like, some new female that's well written. I'm like, no, I want my Laurie Strode. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be the uphill battle. But like, I like the idea. I want to see what comes of it next. Like, what exactly they're going to do as far as the TV series and how that's going to connect to, how, like, what does a Halloween cinematic universe even look like? And that just has my curiosity. I'm just curious. You
Well,
know,
let me
And,
ask,
and,
let me ask, let me
and,
ask
and
both of y'all. Let me ask both of y'all. The whole okay. So do you rather the Laurie Strode as they did in the new trilogy where she has no relation to Michael, or the whole
no,
thing with her being Michael's sister?
uh, well, for me, I like the connection that she's, the sister. Like
Yeah,
the family dynamic thing is what made it creepy in the first place. Because with the new ones, while I like the first one that they did, more than like ends and kills, like
right.
to me, them being connected, it made it more personal as opposed to it being like a random thing. Like she just kind of found out about him
What
and she
what
was, yeah.
what if they flip the roles? You know what I'm saying? And it's like female Michael, Michelle.
No, don't do that, perp. Like, no,
Okay,
my,
is
my
that,
on
is that
some
the
skin, like,
on some
girl?
South Park
no,
shit.
no.
On some South
Oh
Park
my
shit.
god, my skin just left the body. Like, no,
Well,
don't,
I
don't
just I
do
just
it.
think I just feel like there's not enough like female slashers though. I definitely did, and that's not even to be like perp going woke. I was like, bro, it's just there's a
But
lack of that shit.
that's what they were going for, I think, with the fourth movie, right? When they turned where the niece ended up becoming the new Michael, but then for
Jimmy
whatever
Lloyd.
yeah, Jamie Lloyd, but then they scrapped it for whatever reason in 5, where they made her a normal little
Well,
girl again. I thought that was effective how they ended that fourth movie, making her
it,
like
it,
the
it was effective, but it's like the whole point that I saw when I was a kid, when I saw that, was that they were trying to tell the audience that like this kind of stuff does run in the family because that's a real life thing that psychotic, genetic makeup can get passed down. But I
right.
never took that as like, oh, we won't see Michael anymore. It's just more like, oh my God, if Michael shows up, what's gonna happen is he gonna have a little sidekick. That's what I thought. It's
Mhm.
gonna be like triple the
And,
kills and stuff. So
Yeah,
and
like
I
an
think
apprentice.
I still think Ends is very very much overhated because I like the idea of whatever this town is, like that evil lurks throughout that
Mhm.
town. It's not just Michael, you know what I'm saying? It'll pass on to other people and
Herb,
you
I had to see a therapist after that movie because I showed up to see Michael and there was just like this random white guy with problems and stuff, and I was like,
I didn't mind Corey though. I don't think he was bad
I,
in the role.
Court, I had to like walk out and go to the popcorn guy. Like, am I in the right movie? Like, I
Yeah.
paid for
Bro,
Halloween Ends.
nothing will be worse than Busta Rhymes spin kicking fucking Mike Myers. Nothing will ever
Trick or
top
treat,
that.
motherfucker.
Purpose, but as much as I agree with you, I'm gonna say this: I would rather have that because at least Michael was front and center. Like the
Yeah.
fact that like he was just in a cave and stuff, it was like I took that as like Michael, like, hey man, you done? I said I was gonna share the screen a little bit, but the people are here for me. Shut up, Michael. Get back in that cave. It ain't
But I
your
guess
time
with
yet.
with the Gordon Green stuff, like they're trying to make him more grounded, also like kind of like alluding that he might be supernatural in a sense. But I do hope that like one thing I do like about the Gordon Green movies is the brutality. I hope they keep that
Mhm.
kind of
Oh,
same
yeah, yeah.
brutality
I'm with
going
you there.
forward. Like we can't go backwards because like I don't like a lot of like because I love those old Halloween movies, even though like I said, I've been said that Mike Myers not my favorite slasher. Um, I like the brutality in those
Yeah.
in like the Rob Zombies or even the David Gordon Greens where it's just like super brutal and stuff. I think we gotta keep that going. Keep that going.
So,
You know
something
what?
wrong with that. Like, wait, go ahead, Rashad.
Oh no, I was gonna say I guess that's why I didn't really have that much hate for Halloween Ends because like I fuck with Michael Myers, but I'm not like a huge Michael Myers fan. So I mean that's why I won't defend the movie because okay, if I was a hardcore Michael Myers fan, I've been pissed off like you, Terrence.
Yep.
I've been like, you know what, fuck this movie. But because I'm kind of a casual fan, I respected what they were going for. You know what I'm saying? And I really didn't mind it, but especially following Halloween Kills, like how absurd Halloween Kills was, as bad as it was.
Evil
I had a good
Eye.
time with it. Yeah, yeah.
But
So I guess pretty much kind of like how I feel about Friday the 13th Part 5. How I hated that because it wasn't Jason. I guess that's the equivalent of how Michael Myers
well,
fans feel about Halloween Ends.
here's the thing, Rashad. Like, so when you get to like the last 15 minutes of Halloween Ends, right? I was
Right,
just like, this is what we came here to see. What
right.
the fuck was the rest of the movie? Like, I was ripping my hair out. Like, they trying to make me into a psychotic person. Like, I felt so robbed, and I was just like, they did this shit on purpose. They had me sit through that nightmare, and I wanted to see my boy. On top of that, it kind of took away the power of Michael Myers. I was like, he got beat up by a teenager. That shit was so weird to me. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, you can't do that to Michael. He's supposed to be this unstoppable force where an entire town can light his ass up like a Christmas tree.
I
And then he
mean,
just survived.
Lori's been giving him the business for how many years now? So it's like
Okay, but
him
here's the
getting
thing
beat
with
up by.
Lori. But here's the thing with Lori though, if we're gonna be fair. In the first movie, she didn't do anything. Dr. Loomis shot him off a balcony, and then he got up a
You-
few seconds after that. And
You
then
know-
in
Go
the
ahead.
second movie, she was fleeing from him the whole movie. And then in the hospital, she shot him in the head twice because she hit him in both of his eyes, and then he was still fine. It was like this dude cannot be stopped, but somehow some teenager with a high school textbook just knocked him down. I was like, no.
Yeah, well, you gotta think too. He's about 70 years old at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess in this new trilogy, they have him as a regular guy. Yeah.
Rashad, let me tell you something, man. Like, I don't care how old my boy is, he is still supposed to be Michael Myers because his strength, like, even though he's not like Jason supernatural, it was implied from the first 5 movies that they made that he was stronger than any human. Like, he just effortlessly picking dudes up with one hand and stuff. Like, he can get hit by a car and get up. So I'm like, his old age to me wouldn't slow him down. In fact, it's supposed to make him scarier that he would be that old. Because if you remember Halloween H2O, right, when one of the cops was like, we ain't worried about Michael Myers. Like, what is he, like 70 years old or something? And the way the black dude looked at him, he was like, I guess this nigga ain't seen the other movies. Like,
That's a good
But
point.
I understand. But I get where they were going for. Like that's why it was like a requel. Like this was going from the first one on. So it's like this is a different type of Michael than what they've kind of displayed in the Thorn movies and stuff like that. But I personally still don't get the hype over Mike Myers. I don't understand why so many people love him because, like, to me, what really makes those movies that I think that is missing in some of these movies is Loomis, bro. Loomis really makes these movies, bro. Like he's so entertaining.
Right, Donald Pleasance, you're right, Perp. But here's the thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole thing. It's like if you go back to that first movie, it's the way that the movie is shot. It feels very close and intense. The music does a lot of the heavy lifting, that piano kind of shit, and then also the way that the camera angles would focus on bushes and trees. It always seemed like something was gonna come out and snatch somebody, and it didn't happen. And when they finally showed Michael, it's just the way he seemed so robotic and emotionless. It matched Dr. Loomis's words perfectly. Like, damn, he wasn't playing. Like, he's just this unstoppable force. And there was no explanation. There was no explanation to it. Like, because with these other horror characters, you get what's up, but with Michael, there's nothing. And because you don't have anything, the fans, the audience, they get to make up in their mind why he's doing that. But you don't know because Michael doesn't talk. So that creates a terrifying nature that you don't know how to explain this person. He just is. He's the ultimate form of evil.
Yeah, I get that, but I still just don't ever like. I never understood like people put him as like the number one of like compared to other slashers. That's just me personally. I don't understand it, but
his franchise did make over 800 million, though. I mean,
Yeah. I'm never going. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to take that from him. I don't
but
get
it. But
Perp,
I see what you're saying. But I agree with Terrence, but I see what you're saying, Perp. Because if you take all those elements away, you take away that creepy ass score, you take away the masterful direction of John Carpenter. Because that first movie had almost no blood in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But, man, he crafted that movie so perfectly where it's still the scariest of all of them. You know what I'm saying? But if you strip all those elements away and just present Michael as a slasher, he's very generic. Very generic. Nothing special about him.
And about that first movie, I was like, bro, you had the perfect opportunity to end Laurie shit you missed. Like when he swipes down the knife, I'm like, bro, you a dummy.
but see, that's that you right, but that's that tension, right? Because and that's why, because of what happened in Halloween 1 and 2, right? And then we did You know, one of the worst moments in my life with that third installment. And then we get back to my boy with the fourth and the fifth movie. It
Right.
makes you miss Lori. So once they got to H2O, the reason why that blew up is because it's like, oh my God, Lori's back. Her hair is shorter. She got a son now. And she wasn't having Michael shit. Like when she said, go ahead, drive off, baby. I'm about to wreck my brother. And then she had that axe. Man, I was cheering. It was like I was getting ready to fight Michael because that was the first time where she's like, I'm gonna fight him. Like I'm not running, I'm done. And you were by her side because she's such a well-written character and she's likable and she's tried all that stuff. She tried running, she tried hiding, she tried changing her name and all this stuff. It was like there's nothing else you can do, but you gotta fight this motherfucker right now. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always gonna give it to Laurie Strode because I feel like when it comes to Final Girls, I think it doesn't get bigger than Sidney Prescott and Laurie Strode. Like,
Wait a minute, put some respect on Nancy Thompson's name now. Come
I
on.
don't know, man. Nancy, like, I feel like Freddie completely like overshadows Nancy, where it's just like Michael and Laurie 1-to-1, Ghostface and
Wait a
1-to-1.
minute.
You know what I'm saying?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm about to stop you right there, cuz. Let me tell you something. Laurie Strode in that first movie ran and screamed most of the time. Probably got a couple of licks off Michael, but she didn't scream the whole movie. Yo, Nancy stood up to Freddie, right? Cursed his ass out and everything, set up them booby traps, fucked him up, talked her shit to him before she killed him. What's the last thing she said to him before he went into oblivion? To my, you're nothing. You're shit. Come on, man. Hell
Rashad. Okay, like I'll say this, Rashad. You are right about that aspect, but like this is where I'm with Perp on this one. This aspect, because Freddie himself, right?
Yeah.
Robert Englund did such a great job as that character that no one else can play him again. Like when you think about these other characters like Ghostface and Michael and Jason, they're essentially masks, right? As long as you got good writing, you can find somebody to play them. But Robert Englund's personality is what sets him apart. In the same way as something like a Chucky with his personality. And it's like when you have characters like that, especially in the case of Freddy, it just overshadowed all the human characters. Like when you show up to see a Freddy movie with Robert Englund, you show up for him. It's like you're cheering for him more than the human characters. And usually it's like you kind of cheer for the human characters the other way around. You really want them to survive. But like for me, my cousins and a lot of my friends I talked to, we was like, you know what? Freddy is absolutely terrible. And we should probably have something done to our brains for cheering for this dude. But at the same time, as terrible as he is very likable and charismatic for being something so crazy and so evil.
Well, that's why Freddy is the king of the slashers. He's my personal favorite slasher. All right, even though I'm going to pretend Freddy's Dead doesn't exist. All right, and that 2010 one doesn't exist, but that's why Freddy is the king of the slashers. And Nancy Thompson, I'm telling you, put her up against any Final Girl, man. Nancy Thompson is that bitch.
But is Nancy Thompson a household name though? Like
no, she is not. Not even close. In fact,
the reason why because she died in the third. Well, spoilers, she got killed in 3. Laurie Strode had what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, but here's the thing though. Like Freddy, okay, like not only is she not a household name, his sequels are not a household name. Like the main one that humans talk about is the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And then after that, they talk about New Nightmare more than the rest of those installments. Because the thing about Freddy's franchise is not even that his franchise is good, because I think he has one of the worst franchises when you go from the first movie on up. Like down. But Freddy himself, though, as a character, is always good, but that writing is not always good. Them sequels don't measure up to the
you didn't like Dream Warriors?
That was fine, but when you compare it to the first movie, it keeps going down and down. They never measure up to the first movie, and that is a problem. That is the reason why when you watch these documentaries and stuff, when they talk about, the different areas of horror and all these iconic characters, they talk about Freddy specifically in the context of the first movie, and that you always want to see him. And because he is there, you forgive a lot of the missteps with the writing because he is such an iconic and powerful character thanks to Robert Englund and nothing else. As to where these other characters, their sequels, sure, they go up and down, but they're a lot more memorable and they get way more conversation than what happens with Freddy's sequels. Like even
And,
today, like no one really talks about Freddy today because we haven't had anything Freddy. We've had Michael Myers, we've had Ghostface, we've even had Hellraiser, right? But no one really talks about Freddy because everybody knows that without Robert Englund, you don't really have anything.
and I think
well,
I think they could still they could do something with Nightmare. They could. It's eventually going to happen. We're going to definitely see a Nightmare on Elm Street movie in like within the next 5 years. There's no doubt about it. It's just
well,
somebody new is going to take up that mantle. Who it may be, I have no idea. And I hope
And
I really want them to kind of like play with the mythology of Freddy a little bit and let's get more serious. Get like
yeah.
'cause I would want to see the same level of like brutality that we see in like the new Scream movies and Halloween movies in a Nightmare on Elm Street. That'd be really fucking dope to see like
I
how
am
crazy
not
they
I
go.
am not against anything you said, Per, but the only problem that has, unlike all the other franchises that you can name, is that because of the way that it was handled and how it's seared in the minds of humans, it will
Mhm.
be a tall order for you to not only find someone that the majority of the audience is like, oh, that's good, but then to couple that with a compelling story. Like I feel like if you were to ask me what's impossible to do to where you can win over the majority of the audience, including the original fans of the franchise, it would be doing something with Freddy.
Well, okay. Well, I want to add to this. Of course, I'm biased because Elm Street. That's my shit. Now, yeah, people don't talk about Freddy as much because remember Freddy died in the '90s. Okay, so not New Nightmare, but Freddy's Dead was '91, right? So that was the end
Mhm.
of the Elm Street series, and then New Nightmare came, which technically isn't a nightmare movie because it's in the real world and Freddy's like this entity or whatever. So it's not technically Freddy, but now, Terrence, I'm from the '80s, bro. In the '80s, there was nothing bigger than Freddy Krueger, bro. Nothing bigger than Nightmare on Elm Street. Those first three
Okay,
Elm
but
Street,
here's the thing
those,
though. When it comes to the overall box office, because I was born in '88, right? So like, and then like even despite
Also,
like horror movies coming out way before my time, I
yeah,
watched most of them because my cousins were into that, right? Like there would be whole weekends where, okay, this time we binge watching Freddy, this time Jason, next time Candyman, next time The Dentist,
right,
Wishmaster, Hellraiser, Leprechaun. Like we were going through all those. And the
right.
thing is that when you look at the box office, Michael Myers and Jason as characters could arguably considered more iconic, and their movies kept coming out and they kept making a lot of money. In fact, Michael Myers' movies have made more than double of what Freddy's has overall. And that's because Michael Myers, when you think of Halloween, humans naturally think of Michael Myers. He just comes up. And the consistency with his films, and because he is just an evil thing with a mask, there are countless stories that you can tell with him as to where Freddy is just limited because sometimes when you do something so well, it's like you could accidentally shoot yourself in the foot. Like you are
Hold on,
trapped in a
wait a
corner
minute.
now.
I got to correct something. Okay, as a whole, as a totality, yeah, I think the Halloween movies gross more monies, but in the '80s, all right, no, Freddy was king in the box office, bro. Dream Warriors was like the highest growth. Well, nah, the first Freddy, was a modest hit. All right, it was a surprise hit because nobody saw that shit coming. 2 made even more money. 3 at the time was the highest grossing movie, highest grossing horror movie that in that era. And then each one kept making more. Even that punk ass Freddy's Dead was able to make a lot of money. Not for
But
Freddy
even with like
Dead.
Jason's movies though, right? Like because when you compare their box offices at the time, most people don't know that Freddy only beat Jason by a small margin. Like we're talking about a couple more million. It's not like by millions of miles. It's only
But
by
he
a little
still
bit.
won. But he still won. That's what I'm saying. Freddie for a time was that nigga. Now he's not that nigga now. Okay, he's a
He,
has been now.
dead.
You know what I'm saying?
Killed off Freddie.
He's not that nigga no more. But bro, in this heyday, bro, nothing top Freddy Krueger. And you talking about limited? Okay, Michael Myers is just a dude with a mask and a knife. Freddy, they found so many creative ways to kill for Freddy to kill people in their dreams. He turned a bitch into a roach. All right, he killed fake ass Harry Potter. Yo,
I remember, but here's the thing though, like the fact, but see, humans don't know how close the money was. So there's no overshadowing when you barely win. To me, an overshadow is when, like, say Freddy was in 400 and something million range of a overall box office, which he is, but so is Jason. And then Michael Myers surpassed both of them, like by almost double. And triple. So like,
long one, but not in the 80s though. In the long one,
no, but in the 80s though, Jason was also popular and iconic, because if you look at those numbers, it's not that far off. And that's what I'm saying, because a lot of humans think that it just was this super slaughter, and I'm like, no, he was barely winning. And when it comes to box office, that's a very important distinction that humans have to look at. It's like, okay, you're winning, but by how much though? It's not by a lot.
I don't care if it's if it's an inch or a mile.
Winning is win. I know, John, Dominic Toretto, but I'm just saying, like, you got to be fair about these numbers, and letting humans know that there's not that much of a difference, and not to mention, even though there's a little bit of a difference, Freddy dead. Nobody care about Freddy, man. We just gotta be real, man.
I care, man.
I care. I want to see it. I want to see Freddie. I want to see Freddie and Jason back on the big screen. Like, those are two. I'm tired of seeing Mike. I'm tired of seeing Mike's ass.
If he ain't played by Robert England, I'm telling you, humans are gonna reject it. I'm telling you, that's gonna be.
I don't know. I don't know, because like you look at. I don't know if you've seen Dylan's New Nightmare. And what Dave McRae did with his portrayal, everybody's like, yo, he like really channeled his inner like Robert England. It's like, oh my God, like he was really on point with that shit too. Right. But like I said, like all it takes is like you just gotta give somebody a shot and just see how it go. You know what I'm saying? Because I definitely think that there's people that are itching
but they tried that though, and it didn't work.
But I'm saying you could do it again, you know what I'm saying, and get people that actually care about the product, and you know what I'm saying, and there's definitely somebody that's an actor that really wants that opportunity to play Freddy, and they
sure,
probably bring.
But here's the thing, though, like if somebody
it's some big shoes to fill for sure.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's not even to me, right? From my perspective, knowing everything that I know about the horror genre and Freddy, I'm just like, it's not just big shoes to fill. You got perfect shoes to fill. And even if someone did a good job, quote unquote, you will always be compared to Robert England. It's just like, you was pretty.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with like it's the same thing as like we talk about the Batman discussions, like how many Batmans have there been, and it's like we're always going to compare that to the next. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing though, Perp, with that. Now that's a good example, but here's the thing with that. The reason why, to me, that's very different is because there are thousands of Batman comic books, and there are different interpretations of Batman. Each actor who has played Batman has been a different interpretation, regardless of the similarity. Because like with normies that don't read comic books, to them, it's just like, oh, it's the same thing. I'm like, no, it's not. They're pulling from this comic art, or they're pulling from this one-shot comic. There are always differences. The reason why they seem similar is because it's still the same character. But when you talk about like these horror characters and stuff, how they started is how they started, and it's not being pulled from countless lore that goes over 80 years, right? So it's a different type of complexity when you're talking about comics.
But at the same time, like how many people know that there were multiple actors that played Jason and Michael? You know what I'm saying? Like some people don't even notice that like these are completely different actors that
you are 100% right. I feel like a large portion of humans don't know that. Like what they see is just the mask and stuff, right? Which is why I phrase it like that, and why I was giving Freddy his props as a character. Like forget the movies, just the character, right? Because of the personality. Because when that is so on point, if somebody else steps into that, you're gonna notice right away, like, who the hell is this playing Freddy? That's not the same dude. You would notice that immediately because it's too on point. So that is
Yeah.
my concern with it
But you
just
know-
being realistic, is that I feel like it's impossible for them to pull it off, but they can try. But there's a reason why they haven't, you know, messed with that as much as these other horror characters that we've been seeing, because Freddy is the hardest one to do, thanks to Robert Englund. He's the reason.
Yeah, difficult, but not impossible. I feel like enough time has passed by where it could be done. Like, I'll be like Perp say, your boy that played him, right? He really channeled Robert Englund's version of Freddy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that shit was
But
crazy. I was like, wow.
It
But
can be done.
he channeled
It
him
can
though.
be
It's
done.
like it's a copycat, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
in order to reach greatness, you're not supposed to channel anyone. You're supposed to do your own thing and then have it be so good.
But I'm saying, like,
to
as,
where
as
we
far as
go
the
look at it.
context of the
Freddy.
context of the movie,
Yeah.
because that's supposed to be a sequel to A New Nightmare.
Right.
So
No,
that's
no,
why
no,
he was.
no,
Yeah,
of course. No,
Yeah,
trust me. I completely get where y'all
that's all.
coming
I
from.
just yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just stepping outside of all that is what I'm doing. Like, I
Mhm.
get it. It makes sense. And I'm not even wholly against it or nothing like that. I'm just trying to be realistic in terms of how finicky the audience is. And when something is done so well, it won't matter how much time passes. It's just like, I remember this. Like, oh crap, look at this. Or how easily someone can let you know about something like that, something that iconic. There's going to be a bunch of individuals that are aware to show the newbies, like, oh, so you think that this shit is good? Okay, here, watch this. And then they go, oh, well, fuck. You know, we feel like we got cheated. You know, this is how you can have all these different conversations, because regardless of where you were born, something that's timeless is timeless. It doesn't get dated. It doesn't change. It is what it is. It maintains its stature until you're talking about something that's so great to where it doesn't get brought up to that extent. But that's rare, though. That's an anomaly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess kind of like Boris Karloff, right? Like, you know, there hasn't been any other Frankensteins really besides him, because, you know, Boris Karloff is Frankenstein. So I guess in the same breath, Robert Englund is Freddy. But just as a fan, as a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street and of Freddy Krueger, you know what I'm saying, I would like to see it again.
Hey,
Rashad,
Rashad, trust me, I get that, and I'm like the same way in that way. Like, of course I would watch it, right? You know, there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, don't do this, don't do that, but naturally, because I like the other stuff, of course I would watch it. Like, what I'm saying is, like, depending on what happens, like with a trailer, whatever, there will be different levels of enthusiasm, and there's always stuff that could change my mind or win me over and stuff like that. But it's just certain things, the way they sound on paper, don't always hit. You know what I mean? I feel like it's that execution that's really going to make the difference with anything.
The big thing for me with the Nightmare on Elm Street, I would really want them to explore like the dream realm and stuff like that, like the dream world, and you know, like what would that look like in the in like this modern era, like with the special effects that we have. And I immediately thought of like Beau Was Afraid, Ari Aster's film, and just how crazy that kind of went, and just certain things, even though like some of the stuff looks playful, but it's just like I can only imagine it's like in a new Nightmare movie where it's just like we get some really groundbreaking like cinematography, like these different worlds, or just even looking at Stranger Things in the Upside Down, like, you know, that's kind of like almost like Dream World kind of esque type of aesthetic and stuff. And just I think there's just a lot of things you could do with like
I mean,
Freddy.
the Duffer Brothers said specifically though, like okay, so you know, you guys know the show is you know, set in the 80s, and there are a lot of influences with original ideas, but like to me, that Upside Down stuff, the way that's handled is so brilliant. Like, that's what I didn't get with those Freddy sequels. I was like, how the hell did you guys do Freddy's shit better than Freddy's? I'm like, because to me the writing was lacking. And I'm like, this is what I wanted to see from Freddy, even though it's not the same thing. It's like, me being a fan of that, I know that that's where the influences come from. It's kind of kind
Well,
of cool and weird.
Dream Warriors kind of went there though. Like, I mean, Dream Warriors didn't go there all the way because, of course, at the time they didn't have the budget, I guess, to do what they
Yeah.
really wanted to do. But Dream Warriors kind of explored that because remember, you know, in the real world, they were just normal scared kids in this mental hospital, but in their dreams, they were what they always fantasized about being. You know, from a wizard to you know, the Kincaid was a strong man to the chick with the switchblades. You know, so they did explore that some in there. You know, that's why I think
You're right. Like they did, but like I feel like the execution was so weak though. It's like it always left me unsatisfied. Like you can do way more than that. It's just, and you know, I get the whole budget and the limitations, but I'm like, if the writing would have just been a little better for those damn sequels, I feel like we wouldn't even be having this discussion about, you know, we need more Freddy stuff, because then others would have been jumping on it because of how expansive it was. I feel like the Freddy franchise as a whole, after the first movie, is a really good example of wasted opportunity and not expanding upon what you should have been expanding upon.
Ouch.
Mm.
That hurts. I mean, well,
that's fair.
I love Freddy though. I'm just saying. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we can love these slashers and stuff, but like you can't ignore like the flaws in them as well.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I mean, listen, they're never going to win Academy Awards for writing or nothing like that. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you watch these movies and see Freddy fuck people up in their dreams. But yeah, the writing is definitely weak, especially. Like, I don't know, that the second one, to me, like the second one's considered the black sheep of the series. And I don't know, I have a special place in my heart for that second one because at the time it was creepy as shit to me. Like that 2 scared the shit out of me, bro. Especially Freddy's makeup. Freddy had the best makeup in that second movie because he had like a witch look to him. You know what I mean? And it just
I'll give you that one, Rashad. I can roll with that. But you know, I don't know. It's just I'll never get that image. Like when I tell humans, like when horror movies are on point, whether it be from a writing standpoint, visual characters, whatever it is, especially when you're talking about visuals. Like when Freddy, when he shows up and you kind of see the skin hanging and stuff, the way that it looked like he was just freshly burned, but somehow fine. Like that shit got seared in my mind. And that laugh that he was doing and shit, I was like,
right.
Is he enjoying the fact that he about to kill something? It's like, because the other ones I was so used to, like the no emotion, you know, break somebody's spine and throw him against a tree. But it was like Freddy was really enjoying that. Like, yeah.
And speaking of New Nightmare, because I know Guru's in the chat. He recently watched it. He doesn't really like it as much, but I liked Freddy's design where he has like the trench coat and stuff like that. I think that's fucking really dope.
Yeah.
If they did something like that, they bring that back, and you know he can still have his striped sweater and stuff like that. But like, even you could put him in like a cloak. I know a lot of people be like, oh, he'd be a little leaning too much towards Ghostface, but I think you could do a lot with like his visuals, like to keep that same aesthetic, like his burnt face. You know what I'm saying? You could. There's just so many things that like I'm thinking in my head. Like I would like to see like an older looking Freddy, like, but like. He looked like he looks feeble, but he's really not. He's just like, you know, he's very wise, and you know, he's not as jokey. You know, we could go that route and stuff like that. But
well, you know, and I will point out that that's when, even as a fan, I could point out that that's the thing I didn't like what they did with Freddy when they made him a comedian. So I think it was around 3 when he started doing the wisecracks, and then by 4 he was just a straight up stand up comedian. All you needed was a laugh track behind him. And that shit drove me crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, leave the shit talk. Leave the shit talking.
So iconic though with his character now. It's just
But leave that shit talking. It works more for Chucky though, because I like Chucky shit talking. That shit's
Chucky.
That shit never gets
when
old.
It comes to the horror characters, when it comes to shit talking and then just laughing and being funny, nobody does it better than Chucky. I'm just being real. But I remember saying in my film class to my film teacher, because he doesn't like you know, like the Hollywood blockbusters and stuff. He was more into like, you know, the films that spark conversation, like Donnie Darko and A Clockwork Orange and things like that, right? So, you know, it was very rare that like, you know, horror films and things that everybody talks about that he was into. But when I brought up Freddy, who he acknowledged to be, you know, a wonderful character, right? because he was like, "Oh, I'm not a big fan of the movies, but that character in itself, is well written and well performed." And I was like, okay, with that, I asked him, did he see New Nightmare? And he said, yeah, because of his son. And I was like, okay. I was like, to me, one of the most iconic horror sequences I have ever seen in my life, and I would put up against any scene, is when they started playing that crazy ass score, and then the steam comes off the sheets, and he came out the bed and shit and cut away the sheets, and then you see his claws, and then it switches to the shadow, and you see the shadow moving, and then it switches to a close shot of his face. I was like, that's some of the best cinematography that I've seen in a horror movie. It was fantastic. And he agreed with that. He was like, wow, I didn't think of it like that. I was just like, that's just how I felt when I saw that shit as a kid.
There's a lot of that in different horror movies that people just like that aren't fans of horror. They like kind of overlook that. Like a lot of these horror movies, especially in the 80s, like they had some dope cinematography and stuff. And it was kind of like ahead of its time and stuff. But yeah, like that scene you're talking about is really dope. And it's interesting, like that we kind of talk about like who's on top as far as like legacy characters, because it looks like now like Ghostface got the crown right now, but as far as popularity and stuff, like
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like let me see, because I remember I had it somewhere to because remember how we were talking about earlier, like how Saw is like $1 billion and something, right? So like the number one right now as a franchise, like money wise, is The Conjuring, right? It's over $2 billion. Ain't nothing.
That's crazy. And they only got we just gotta count the other movies, but yeah, that's crazy. Like The Nun 2 made a lot of fucking money as mid as that movie was. Like,
right. Yeah, I didn't like either one of the Nun movies. Like for me, like I like the Conjuring franchise, like specifically the Conjuring films, and then there was like a couple Annabelle films that I didn't like The Curse of La Llorona, like so it's more so for me the Conjuring movies that did it. But like it's crazy when you look at these franchises where they are. Like Scream is at like 744 million, right? Like that's insane that it's at that. You know what I mean? And it's when you compare that to where again where Freddy was, it's just crazy how many franchises beat him financially. Like even Final Destination beat him at like 665 million. Like,
they only have 5 movies.
Right. You can just keep going, like, and then even the Ring franchise beat Freddy. It's like it's crazy how many people annihilated him financially, and how many of them stick with an audience. Like A Quiet Place, with just 2 films, made over 638 million. Like this is insane when you look at these numbers.
You talking about inflation now, Nick? Come on, these are movies that's made recently now. Freddy's from the 80s and the early 90s, man. That's not fair.
No, but I get what you're saying. Of course, you always have to adjust for inflation, but I'm talking about when you have like these box office trackings and the records and stuff, the numbers are what they are. Outside of that, you have conversations about inflation, but he made what he made at that time, which was 468 million with all of his films, which is nothing to scoff at. But I'm just saying, like it's crazy how many beat him. You know what I mean?
Even Paranormal Activity movies made fucking a shit ton of money and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And let's not forget how Perp, said this, I think, in the first episode, how there are more fans now going to see these horror movies in the theater as opposed to back then. Back then, horror movies were more of a cult thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was very rare for a horror movie to even cross like over $20 million. You know what I'm saying?
Like, or even something that I think is terrible compared to Freddy, like say Jaws, right? Like outside the first movie, those sequels were trash. I would say they were worse. So, they were worse to me than Freddy's, but even that shit is over 800 million. I'm like, what the fuck? Like when I first saw that shocked me that Jaws had made that much money across their films. It's insane.
Yeah, I want to. Guru said, I bet if Robert Englund, Freddy comes back now, he'd kill him all. It'd be nice, but he retired, so so I really wouldn't want to see that personally, just because I was like he's like 90 something now, so it's like I'm good on that. But
hey, Per, what'd you mention? What'd you say? Paranormal Activity, right?
Yeah.
Like I forget how many films that is. I know I saw all of them except for maybe
I
one,
think they have
right?
7. I think they have
Yeah,
7.
I know for sure I saw 6 out of the 7. I might have seen the 7th one, but I just remember 6 of them vividly. So like even that shit with that's another franchise that I never really liked. I was just like, they all right and stuff, but even that shit made 890 million. I'm like, what the hell is happening in this
Ridiculous.
world to where that makes 890 million? It's weird.
And Aubrey James, like, yeah, we did speak about Five Nights at Freddy's. That shit is dumpster trash juice. Like that, for me, it's ass. It's ass. But that movie's gonna make a lot of money too because that has a huge fan base. I won't be surprised if that maxed out around like 400 something, or you know what I'm saying.
You know what? That'll be cool though, Perp, because look, even when it comes to movies that I think are mid or whatever, if it's part of a genre that I like, what humans often forget is that when one person eats well, that gives the opportunity for others to join the table and also eat well. Like
Yeah.
projects that would have been dismissed, like, oh, we're not doing that, we're not taking the risk, will then be reanalyzed. Like, you know what? Hey, man, maybe we should make this after all. It creates a roll ball effect, like, and it just keeps moving. It don't mean it's going to reach the same success, but they'll feel more confident to make it based off of the success of something else that exists in that genre that they're trying to tackle.
hmm
Well, that's
Yeah,
how I
for
take
sure, for
Aubrey
sure.
says Jaws 2 is better than Jaws 1. That's the first. I never heard that one before.
I have
I
never,
just I
I have
stick with
never
the, I
heard
just
that.
I just stick with the first Jaws. I don't care for none of them sequels.
Oh,
I don't
and,
care
and
for none
and
of
check
them.
and check this shit out, right? This is another one that surprised me, y'all. Like,
Mm,
what was it? Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal, right?
yeah.
Like together, those two movies made $924 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You
Worldwide?
like you want to talk about something that should have been expanded upon? Is that the
Yeah.
fact that almost got to $1 billion and there's not as much of that as you think it would be? Like that's insane to me. If you want to
I
talk
think
about,
I think that'll come back, like, cause like the movies were successful. The TV show that came out, like, was it 2014 or some shit, was
yeah,
successful. So
Wasn't that third
that they'll
movie
definitely
though?
dip.
Was it Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, then Red Dragon? Right? Wasn't Red Dragon the
right,
third one?
right.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right. Yep. There was that one as well. That's
Yeah.
that's absolutely right. But even then though, that's only like a couple of movies compared to all these other ones we've been talking about.
Right.
So when I was saying earlier about how, all they do is make the sequels and stuff, it's like with that one, I feel like because it wasn't explored that much, I would be more open to it because it wasn't bled to death like 99% of these other franchises.
Yeah,
Mm.
Aubrey Jenkins, like I agree with you like that. Like, fucking Bill Skarsgård would be
Scar.
really dope as Freddy too, because he has the stature. He
Mhm.
could like get that charisma and shit. But him as a burnt victim would be kind of interesting. I would have to see
Yeah.
somebody do like an AI type of
Bill, okay, are
kind of
we
thing.
are we talking about the one that played Pennywise and then he was in John
Yeah,
Wick Chapter 4
Right.
as the
yeah,
Mark? Okay,
Yeah.
here's the thing. While I'm not against that, he would have to. It's very important that he doesn't play Pennywise again, just looking like Freddy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. I
we
know
want
exactly what
him
you
to
mean.
be
Yep.
different because I feel like based upon what I've seen from him, or even his brother Alex Skarsgård, right? Like that whole family, they got acting chops. But it's just that depending on the director, sometimes when something works, they tell him to do it again, and that's a mistake. You don't want to do it again because you're playing a different character. So I feel like if he were to play Freddy or somebody else, I feel like I would just be more concerned about who's around him and not so much him specifically. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because like my thing is like I would like to see even I kind of contradicted myself. I would like to see like an older looking Freddy, not like a actor that's old playing Freddy, but also like if they were to do it, I would say go somebody young, like somebody in their like late 20s, early 30s or something like that. So you could just have that actor around, so you don't have to go right for like someone that's in their 50s or 60s that are like almost out the door. No disrespect, but you know,
Oh, what was that? What was that thing I was gonna say? Perp. Another thing that I don't want to hear from like a director or a studio is like, oh, we hired our talent and we made sure that they didn't watch any of the other material. I was like, that stuff worries me. I'm like, what you mean you didn't watch it? I'm like, to me, it's not about watching it to copy it. It's about understanding the fan base.
Right.
If you don't respect the fan base, you might as well dig a grave in advance, and so that way you could be ready to jump
You,
in that shit. Because
you know what's crazy? Like, there's an Exorcist movie that came out and it flopped. Like,
yo,
and it's like, and I feel like they probably should have waited until like the Halloween Ends thing kind of died down, because I think that played a huge part in that shit as well. Like, that shit was gonna have an uphill battle, like, regardless. But yeah, I think they just released that at the wrong time, because that came out like they had to move it up because of Taylor Swift and stuff, and that just didn't work well for them at all. Like, they just that didn't work out at all for them.
Well, because those possession movies come like a dime a dozen. That's almost like if they try to redo Jaws now, right? It wouldn't work because there's like a dozen shark movies that come out every year.
Right.
So like the market's oversaturated. So if you try to put out an Exorcist movie, like, get in line. It's like where we had the Pope's Exorcist, then there's the one.
But that's what makes, like, When Evil Lurks so fucking brilliant, because it's a possession movie, but it's nothing like
right.
The Exorcist, or it's nothing like Talk to Me. Like,
Right.
you're not dealing with a possessed.
Is it like The Conjuring or anything, or no?
No, I'm not going to spoil it. I just go into it blind, bro. I'm gonna send you that link. I'm gonna send you that link, because that's it.
I definitely trust y'all, because all three of us, we horror fans, right? And I feel like we got a lot of the same like-mindedness, you know what I mean, for the most part. So yeah.
Do you think Sydney will come back at 7? Yeah, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't miss her.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. See, now I really got to see my therapist.
I mean, I say that because it's like, yo, they made a successful Scream movie without Sydney, so it's like,
but
I understand. Like, it's cool for her to sit out. I would like to see her being brought back in a. I still agree with her. They need to pay her money. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to,
they
don't
do.
try to you know what I'm saying? Just give her money. I'm always going to stand by that. But, like, to say that, like, Scream can't move on past, like, Sydney, Scream 6 says other way. Watch. That's all.
Right. You right. Like, it can, but I don't want it to, though. Like, I miss me some Sydney. I love me some Jenna Ortega, but I'm like, when you think of Ghostface, Sydney is there. It's like all that shit is based around her. Like, Jenna Ortega is new, right? So to me, them not paying her, the money that she clearly deserves, I'm with her. I don't care if she was asking for $100 million. You don't have that franchise without Sidney Prescott. I don't care what nobody says. You to me, I would argue that you still need her, because it always goes back to her. Bring her back and have her be the focus again, or you can have her with Jenna Ortega and the sister character, and have them do stuff together.
But I've always liked what they've been doing. Like, they can kind of tease that like Sam might flip to the dark side. I fully hope that they do that with 7, and like Sydney has to take them down and stuff and some shit like that. That'd be
wait a minute. Really cool. We got to be careful with that line, because if I'm in a theater and something happens to Jenna Ortega, I'm walking out. I ain't trying to see it.
I think she's on the shot. I feel like Scream 7, if that's going to be like the true finale to this whole entire shit, like, anything goes. It needs to be anything goes.
But Terrence, have a peace of mind knowing this, bro. Ghostface's killing skills are like fucking elementary, so I think Jenny Ortega would be okay. Yes, I said
he got a body count, like, as far as Ghostface,
right, man. But you know how the Scream movies do. They want us to think that, and then he just gonna be hacked to the 7th movie, and then she gonna get stabbed. He gonna push her off a building, and then that's basically gonna push me out the theater. I'm like, nope, I'm done. Yeah,
I think they should. I think they should tap into like cause it's like a lot of people like doing cult shit. Like, I feel like it'd work for Ghostface. Like, why wouldn't there be a group of people that are just out there just networking and stuff like that, and inspired by what Billy and Stu did and stuff like that, similar to how we see in 6 and stuff, like how there was other people wanting to finish Amber and old boy's whole thing and whatnot.
I probably should not say this live because you never know who might be listening, but I just got this terrible goosebumps feeling that, you know, they gonna kill Sydney and Jenna Ortega. And if they do that, man, I'm gonna just go into a vegetative state. I'm not gonna be able to handle that.
Speaking of goosebumps, that trash, that shit. I hate what they do with that shit, bro.
But yeah, man. I mean, all right. I'll put it this way. Okay, you know, we talking about how Ghostface is one of the most iconic slashes. But okay, if you had a chance to escape from Ghostface or Michael Myers, which one you think you have the better chance of getting away from?
Mike.
No.
That nigga's gonna be at the same fucking spot that I left him at. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna take a stop. He gotta go find a car. He's gotta go find a car.
That's another thing that's been inconsistent. Michael be teleporting, like him and Jason, like you.
Bro, that's some bullshit they added though, because like he was driving a lot in the first one. I was like, we
saw him driving perp, but I'm talking about when he's not in his car. It's like you look back and he ain't there, and then all of a sudden he's in front of you, or it's a knife going through the chest or something. Like they basically started pulling a Batman because y'all know what's up, the Batman effect. Because Batman,
But with Ghostface, it could be anybody. That's the thing. Like, it could be your blood relative. You know what I'm saying? They're just gonna swab you out.
Like, I see that shit coming perp in the 6th movie. I was so wrong. I was like, he is definitely the killer. No, it's that nigga right there. And then it was just the sheer number of the killers too in that movie. I was like, I'm definitely awake. I'm like, what are these writers doing to me? I'm like, now I just threw everything out the window. I was like, they got me. I never saw that shit coming. I was like, what the fuck is going on? That was crazy.
Yeah, some people said they could call like the killers in the 5th one. I was like, I saw one, but I didn't see like, Amber popping up.
Right.
Still to this day though, Jill is the best Ghostface, hands down. Like next to like Billy and Stone.
I can never get both of them right, and then in case of number 6, it was like 5 of them. I was like, I could never get all of them. I always get one, and then I mess up on the other one, which means you didn't get it, because like you always get those humans like, oh, I knew it was him, but I was like, there's 2 though, or 3 or 5 or whatever. If you don't get all of them to me, then that means you didn't guess it. That's only a part of the equation. You know what I mean? So I can never get all of them. Yeah. How about you? Like all of them, or?
Joe Rashad,
what's up?
No, both you guys. Have you guys ever watched like the Scream movies and you just knew all the killers like right off the bat?
Not really, like except for the first one.
Yeah, the first one I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the first one, I guessed wrong because at first I thought it was the video store guy. What's his name? The Jamie Kennedy character.
Oh yeah, the expert in the horror and stuff. Yeah,
at first I thought it was him, but then eventually I put it together. So it's Billy and Stu. Yeah.
You know what? I figured it was Johnny Depp's clone, but I didn't know it was the other one. So yeah.
Well, Stu was obviously
he looked so psychotic. You know what I mean? I was like, he gotta be the killer. I was like, he got this. Little hair coming down on the forehead. He all handsome and creepy look. I'm like, no, it's definitely him. Yeah.
You know what I liked about Scream and just how they just do the meta shit so well. Because when you watch the original Halloween, what's the movie they're watching? They're watching the Thing, and then like in Scream, they're watching Halloween. So it's like that shit was really dope.
Yeah.
The little attention to details like that.
Oh, how do you feel about? Wait, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Terrence, like, what is a franchise that you don't think got enough shine that you would want to see like be rebooted or just kind of like brought back? That was from like the 80s, not or just any time.
That's a good question. I mean, I did mention the Hannibal stuff, so like, I would like to see more of that kind of stuff. But outside of that, I think it might be a little bit too late based upon what we got recently, but like stuff like Candyman and like Wishmaster and things like that, or even
Wishmaster would be fire.
Yeah,
like any of those kind of ones, like Candyman, Wishmaster, Leprechaun, the Dentist, stuff like that. Like I
Oh
want to
yeah,
see them try that again.
I was mentioning this on a stream. I was like, yo, we gotta bring back the attack of the killer food items like the attack of the killer tomatoes and shit like that. Like, bring that back, yo. Like,
Yeah. Attack of the Killer, Little Shop of Horrors,
uh,
or something like that.
yeah, I still wanna Trick or Treat too, even though they've been teasing that shit forever. Um, I would like to see them actually, because I know they've been making Puppet Master movies, but like just the actual
Oh
legit Puppet
yeah,
Master.
yeah.
Um,
There's a shit ton of those. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. What's another one? You mentioned the dentist, like you're like the stepfather, stuff like that. What's another one? They're just like there's supposed to be a Salem's Lot movie coming out this year, but I don't know what the hell's fucking going on with that shit. Like that's it's apparently it's done and whatnot, but it's just like I don't know
Well,
what's
you know, a
going on
movie
with it.
always, a movie always got mad that didn't get a sequel was you ever heard of Rawhead Rex?
All
Yeah,
head Rex.
yeah.
Why
Rawhead
does that
Rex,
sound
yeah.
familiar?
Yeah, that was a Irish '86 movie about a large, like predator looking demon who was like
Yeah.
supposed to be on the earth before Christ, and he was trying to, take over the earth again. I mean,
That
if
makes
you look at it now, the effects are really dated. It's cheesy as shit, but I had a good time with it back then. And they teased the sequel, right? Like they ended it where he
Right.
comes back. It's like I'll be back, and he never returned. Never saw Rawhead Rex
it,
2.
it. That reminds me, like that description just reminds me of what was that movie called Chomp or something like that, where like it's a like a person. Because all I can remember from that movie is like a whole girl just being devoured by somebody. It was just so bizarre and weird.
Yeah.
Um, I know Toxic Avengers is coming back. They're making a new one of those. They should just completely reboot fucking Jeepers Creepers, bro. Give it an actual budget. Just completely reboot that shit,
Well,
or just
you know what, man? That's another one where I feel like, sure, you could theoretically do something, right? But
too much damage already done to the brand.
the last two films though were, I don't know
Yeah.
about the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, man. Like
Let
I
it sit
feel
on the
like,
shelf for like 5 years.
yeah, let it sit on the shelf for like maybe 10 years and like really develop it, because the last two films left a bad taste in so many humans' mouths that you need to be far removed from that before you can tackle it to the degree that individuals will give it a chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, so yeah.
yeah. Like Children of the Corn, they'll never get that shit right.
Ugh, just
Um,
yeah, stay away from that shit.
Village, was it Village of Children of Damned? They probably never touched that.
Hmm.
Oh,
Um,
Little Classmate
Birds, make a Birds movie. That wouldn't work. That would just be funny as fuck.
No, they
Just
would
like,
just make that would be a joke type movie. I don't think that would work like this. Yeah.
What's my
yeah,
Killer
fuck,
Clowns?
no Birds.
Oh, the Birds. Oh, yeah.
Can't really use spiders because, like, I feel like the last good one was like Eight-Legged Freaks. I remember that shit. Like, I just remember that trailer. But
Oh, Perp, I should add, like how I mentioned Wishmaster.
mhm.
What I don't hear too much, except for a couple individuals that I talked to, is that Andrew Divioff, who played the Jinn in Wishmaster 1 and 2, like
Yeah,
he was really good as that character based upon his presence and what he did with his voice. I feel like, there's so much talk about Freddy and Michael and Jason, but
Right.
like Andrew, even though we saw the Jinn form a lot of time, it was like he was in the prosthetics, and then of course he was in his human form most of the time. I feel like that deserves more attention too, because of how well he did as the Jinn. Like his voice is insane, like the way he could make it deep and then really high, like he really sounds
yeah,
demonic, like naturally. That shit
yeah.
was insane.
I wonder why
Um,
that. I wonder
so,
why that movie never took off. Because Wishmaster I think is very underrated. It
for
doesn't get the
sure, for sure.
recognition that it deserves. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was the time that it came out. Because it dropped in '97,
Um,
I think.
I think I think it was because like what I've heard from a lot of humans is, at least at that time, like I was like, well, I heard it was too gory and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I guess, but I don't know, it just didn't really hit with a lot of humans. They were just like, okay, he looks cool. And then the idea of, something like a Jinn giving you the three wishes and stuff, they thought it
yeah,
was cool, but it always seemed like a back burner kind of thing. Like, it was kind of
Yeah.
cool, but I don't really
yeah.
need to see it again.
Tony mentions making it more mature, but Goosebumps. That's what everybody has a Goosebumps fan wants them to go more mature, but they never do. They always want to do some fucking bullshit. Okay, because like there's so many ideas that I have for just the haunted mask. Like that's just such a fascinating story, and just like kind of like dissect like somebody like Carly Beth's brain, and just like to dive into the psychological aspects of that, because like there's just so many dope stories, and even like with Slappy, you can kind of tap into that, child's play. Even though they did an episode where they kind of gave Slappy a backstory, and it kind of reminded me of Magic, the old movie Magic and whatnot. That was cool, but outside of that, that's still trash.
They ain't even gonna come close, Perp. Like they ain't even gonna beat that theme song, that doom 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 doom.
Bro,
like that,
they barely even have a theme song. Like this new one is just like a piano riff, and it's just like, what the fuck was that, bro? Like you don't want to just build up, no nothing. It's just like, piano riff, title, go to the, what I'm saying? Because what they did with, like I keep explaining this, what they did with the Haunted Mask in this new one was just so trash. I was like, they literally trolled you. Like they had this chick that was a troll, an internet troll. Nobody knew who she was. Then she gets her the hands on the mask, which the idea of the mask becoming whatever you are deep down inside is cool, but like the way they executed it was just fucking terrible. Like you literally made this chick into a troll, and that's supposed to be fucking scary. You're just, that's so fucking creative.
When you was explaining that, Perp, I was like, I'm glad I didn't watch that shit. But like the thing with the original one that I saw when I was a kid, when that shit was new, was just the idea of Carly Beth getting picked on and stuff. Because I've been through a lot of bullying, unfortunately, and shit, and like that really sparked my imagination. Like, oh man, what if I could have a mask and shit, to deal with these humans, right? But then
it turned that's established like right early off, like when the episode starts, like Carly Beth and Sabrina are passing by that store, and she's like, man, she's just, you can look at her face and just like, yo, like she's just so in awe of it. It's just like, I want to be scared for once, like.
Right, yeah, and then it was like, just that whole, like when she finally went home in that original one, and you hear like that squishing sound, and it got like stuck to her skin.
Yeah.
And then her friend was like, "Go ahead and take it off," and then she was like, "Okay." And then she just, the way that actress's eyes looked, like when she was so scared when she realized that she couldn't remove the mask, Perp. Like as a kid, I was just like, "Oh shit!" I was like, I got concerned. She's like, "I can't take it off." It's like.
And even when you get the backstory on those masks, when they're like, when the store owner's like, yo, these are real people's faces and stuff. Like, I'm like, whoa,
right. yeah, Perp. Like, remember, because when she was looking through the store, and then she was like, "What about these?" And he's like, "These masks are not for sale."
No. He was really creepy though. That shit. Like,
and then, remember, she stole that shit too, right?
Yeah.
And she threw the money. And then she came back, and remember how he was waiting there and let her in? He was like, "Hey man, I tried to tell you that these masks are for sale." He was like, you gotta take it off, you gotta do it. He's like,
no refunds. This is your face now.
You can't. Like it was crazy, Perp, like how they did that. And that was like a kid's show, man. Like that shit was insane.
Yeah. But got like 10 minutes left, but going back to like, we're talking about the future of horror, like we talked about different legacies and what's hot now, and what's going to be like the next like kind of big thing. Like I said, me personally, I would want to see more interactive movies, but I know that probably takes a lot of time, and not a lot of studios are going to invest in that type of idea. Seems like found footage is somewhat coming back in some fashion, not on like the big screen or something like that, but like you got the VHS movies, they're doing really well. Those are movies that they could put out like every year, just because it's like doesn't cost them much to make those movies at all. Next year seems like it's going to be a repeat of 2022. You got Smile 2, you got Maxine coming out, you got Terrifier 3 coming out, so that's going to be, those alone got me excited. And to see, what else is going to be like, what's just, I'm just excited to see like what's going to be the next thing. And like we're also getting new slashers. Like next month they got Wonderful Knife and and
They what that
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving movie? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, we got some interesting slashers to still be looking forward to, and just like a lot of these smaller, unknown kind of horror movies are starting to get like a lot more eyes put on them. And the legacy isn't like the legacy horror movies are going to do what they do, but it definitely seems like people are leaning more towards like newer ideas, fresher IPs, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it's really cool to see. Um, but any final thoughts, Rashad?
I was reading some of the comments here. Yeah, Aubrey says bring back Phantasm. That's another one that's gonna be hard to bring back just because Angus Scrimm played the tall man so good that
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
can't see nobody else playing the tall man. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's gonna be a hard one to do.
Like the Haunted Mask Part. The Haunted Mask Part 2 wasn't terrible. It's better than the shit that they have us now, but you know, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like my favorite.
No,
I'd
no,
say
me neither. No, me neither. Yeah, but you
yeah,
know.
but yeah, I mean, I guess last thoughts is for the future of horror. I want them to get back to trying to scare people again. It felt like filmmakers that made horror movies back in the day were really trying to scare people. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, what can we do to fuck this crowd up? You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff I've been watching lately, because you know, Perb, I've been telling you, I've been trying to face my fears this month and watch the movies that I was scared to watch as a kid. And so these movies that I'm watching, as old as they are, have been fucking with my head since I've watched them, and I can't think of any new movies besides the Terrifier movies that got me like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I still think about that lipstick being pressed into the damn nipple from Night of the Demons. That image stays with me.
Yep, sometimes in life. Yep.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
in life.
I can't stop thinking about that, man. So yeah, just to get back to trying to scare people and shock people. You know what I'm saying? Give us something to remember, not just the cookie cutter jump scare and you know just the normal tropes that we see all the time. Give us something different. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's hard to scare people because it's like even when you're older and you go back and watch the stuff that used to scare you, you just like, oh, this shit's kind of corny. It's not like it's
Yeah.
still dope. You kind of laugh at it, you know what I'm saying? But it's still you knew it did something to you as a kid. I feel like that plays a part in it too because it's like as an adult you can kind of suspend your disbelief, but sometimes you know you take a movie. You take some of these recent movies, it's all about just atmosphere, just make dope atmosphere, like creepy
Right.
ass like horror movies. I think that's how you can kind of get under somebody that get under people's skin that are older. Because like
Yeah.
necessarily like not a lot of things are going to scare people, say nowadays where like we're so desensitized to shit anyway. So it's like, you
Well,
know,
Well, I just like I said, I just watched Demons, right? And I felt that was so genius because to have it take place in the movie theater, I could just imagine what the crowd was when they went to see that back in the day. Like you're sitting in the theater and you're watching a horror movie that takes place in the movie theater. So I can imagine the paranoia when you're looking around. You're like, are there any like demons sitting next to me? You know what I'm saying? That shit was
it,
genius.
I mean, like for me, when I watch horror movies, it's just for entertainment. Because like once, when I was a kid, when I thought like, oh man, the guy with the hockey mask or this and that, and I'm like, yep, where do they live, right? And my cousin was like, nah, man, this shit fake. Like, ain't no Jason and Freddy and them, and I was like, oh, so I'm like, it's not real. So like, once they told me it wasn't real, it was just like at that point, nothing was able to scare me. It was just more of a fascination and an entertainment kind of thing. But obviously, the audience don't make up Terrence like that. You know, you got humans jumping and they got fears and phobias and stuff.
That's me.
So
so
if,
so
That's
so
me.
if you came across Art the Clown, what would you do? Would you interact with him or would you try to just avoid him?
let's see, like you gotta we take in consideration that I'm Terrence, but I'm also black, right? So you got certain things in my genes. But like, if I were walking to my friend's house and he just like appeared, right? I'd be like, what the fuck? Now, Perp, I don't know if you remember, but there was a time period where I used to paint my face. Like I'd go out in public with my face painted, like different things, right? Like I had my face painted like a clown.
Oh
I had
hell
it
no.
painted like the Crow and stuff and the Joker at different points, like that
Mhm.
was something I was doing because I just figured why not, right? And humans had their reactions to me. So because I'm so open, something like that wouldn't scare me, but I would be curious as to why it's happening. So, based upon your question, I would probably interact with them. I'd be like, hey, what's going on? And, what you doing? But if it
Ask you for
starts
some
getting
money. Like
crazy,
he start panhandling, and start asking you for some money. Well, now he wouldn't ask you for no money, but he'd be like,
or like he would just like put out his hand and like, for
yeah,
money or something.
yeah, I'm trying to
Oh, I
do it.
mean,
Like, that's what give me too. Like, yeah.
oh yeah, I would definitely give him something. Like, I've definitely given humans money before, especially if I got it on me, I give him, a couple dollars. But then if he pulls out a knife or something, then yeah, you're gonna have to get, punched up, kneed up, kicked, and everything I know how to do. Like he won't be coming back for no sequel if he pull the wrong thing. Like that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that's fun.
Terrence, there's not a movie that you could think of that like really affected you. Like, damn, that shit kind of fucked me up a little bit.
No, the best that I could say is unfortunately, Rashad, like, I know I don't have time to get into it, but I have experienced, a lot of my own horrors because I was bullied most of my life, by
Right.
countless humans. Like the scenarios that humans watch and Carrie and all
Mhm.
these things, like that kind of stuff happened to me, right? So to
Right.
me, I was just like, I'm like, what's these movies got on like what actually happens in reality that is often overlooked and stuff. And then of course, you get mad and you wish that you had, a mask or some powers or something to deal with it. And obviously,
Mm.
that's not the right way of thinking, but it's like
Or
when you get
Infinity Gauntlet.
paralyzed and stuff, what
Infinity
else are
Gauntlet.
you supposed to think? So like
Right.
with
Right.
me, it's never been to the point like that, but it's more of with certain characters, right? When I see characters in these horror movies and shows when they're underestimated or they're bullied or something or they're odd and things like that, like I can identify with them. And the
Mhm.
best you would get is I would like cheer for that character. I want the character to make it. Even
Mm.
like now I know you're not gonna hear too many individuals say this, but like say like with Jason, right?
Mhm.
This dude was murdered. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah.
literally threw him in the water because he looked different, right? And of course they sitting there laughing and he drowning, the adult negligence and stuff. Like he was murdered because he looked different. And I was messed with because of me just being different with my personality and stuff. And
Mhm.
me being black too. They're like, oh, you're not supposed to be like that and stuff. So, I understood the rage of Jason, right? Even though he was
Yeah.
killing random people, I was just like, murder is wrong, but it was like that's fucked up that had to
Right.
happen to him. You know what I mean? I kind of saw the tragedy in that. Or like remember how you were mentioning Boris Karloff as Frankenstein?
Right.
Just the fact that he stepped out into the world and humans had all these torches and pitchforks and stuff. It was like with me, you didn't have torches and pitchforks, but you might as well, So like I was able to sympathize and understand certain things that certain humans just wouldn't get. So that's really the best way to get me is if you can get me to want say the final girl
Um,
or the final guy or even the villain, whatever, like that's how you can get me to feel like I understand what a character is going through. That's how you can get
Right.
me. You won't be able to get me through fear.
Okay.
yeah. Shouts to Jeff here. Leatherface was bully. Because I was just like really um your icon here, your little default picture here, just kind of it's kind of creepy. You know what I'm saying that stuck out to me. I was just like,
Yeah.
that's kind of sticking in my head right now. But shouts to you for pulling up.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. The
now,
fly. Yeah.
with that said, Rashad, like, do you feel like that shit is weird and stuff? Because usually I get humans looking at me funny when I say shit like that.
No, I mean, everybody got their own story, man. So I'm not God. I'm not a judge. You know what I'm saying? Like, your experience is your experience. I mean,
Yeah,
in a way, I kind of wish I had that courage, man. Because I'm for a horror movie fan, I'm a walking contradiction. Because as a horror movie fan, I'm very fucking scary. You know what I'm saying? I'm that person where I'll watch something and I'll love it, but then I'll have nightmares about it. But then I'll wake up like, damn, that was cool though. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just like I have this weird like attraction to being afraid. You know?
Oh yeah. That's understandable. That's the intrigue most of the time, right, Rashad? Like when humans watch these horror movies and shows, they want to,
right.
feel the adrenaline. They want to get scared, right? And then if the directors and writers, if they do their job, they got that, and it's like, okay, we scared them, but they enjoyed it, so they'll be back for more, right? It's like that perfect recipe, that perfect storm, right? So
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that because, like, you know what I'm saying? That shit happens to me on a regular, like, because I'm in the suburbs and at night, the shit's fucking creepy because it's like, it just be mad quiet, bro. Too quiet.
Mhm.
And sometimes, like, it got like a lot of trees around me. So, like, I'll just be walking in my crib and shit. Then all of a sudden, I hear like leaves ruffle or some shit like that. I'm just like, oh, it's a fucking squirrel.
Not looking behind
Yeah,
you, right? Yeah,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm just
that's
not
like
looking
a horror
behind me.
movie
It's a
person
fucking
just
squirrel.
walking and it's a bunch of trees and then it's just quiet. I'm
Yeah,
like,
like
no, this is
everything that you would think of like Haddonfield and shit, that's like the areas that look like me, but it's not. It's nowhere near as lit as those streets are. Because sometimes there'd be dark ass streets. You know what I'm saying? When I was younger, I explained this. Like when I was younger, used to like cut through the woods to get to the movies because you could take
right.
either way. Like I could like walk in my backyard and walk up the street and get there, but like taking that cut through the movies will get you right there as well, a little bit faster. That shit
right.
was always creepy at night, especially after watching like a horror movie. I'm like, why the fuck did I choose to take walking through the woods? Like that's some white people shit. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm telling y'all that like these movies affect you, man. Like I remember being scared to go in the water when I
facts,
watched
Jeff.
Jaws. You know what I'm saying? I remember being scared to go to sleep the first time I watched Elm Street. I don't want to fuck with Sleepaway Camp because of Jason. Certain movies, like just recently when Terrifier 2 came out, man, Perp, I think you know the story. The next day I went to the laundromat, right? And as I'm in the laundromat, I see this big ass black garbage bag sitting by the folding table. And it
Oh
was
no, I get the fuck up out of there.
you know what I'm saying? Yo, my big ass got out of there so fast, bro.
I'll be like, I'll come in tomorrow. Hey, this can wait.
I took off like white lightning of a black snake's ass. Well, I was gone. I took a picture of it, put it on social media, and I left.
like I think Perp already knows this, I believe, but more so for you, Rashad, like based upon what I said, like I always tell humans, there's a difference between like somebody having like a phobia or they're in something and they're getting scared as opposed to somebody that can get startled, right? Like if I'm walking down the street and I bump into some shit and then it uncloaks and it's a predator or something, of course that's gonna startle the fuck out of me. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, but outside of like, obviously I can be surprised and things of that sort of startled. It's like once I already, have an understanding and I'm in the situation enough, then at that point I would just be reactive. Like, okay, do I engage? Do I wait and see? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, my one roommate has a cat, and that shit just be making like it'd be like legit trying to talk, and that shit's fucking creepy. I'm just like, yo, shut the fuck up, please, stop meowing and shit. Like, I don't want to hear that creepy shit. And like, back in my childhood house and shit, like that shit was pretty old. So like sometimes the steps would creak by itself. I got used to that, but like that shit was always creepy as hell. And yeah, the suburbs are just creepy as fuck at night. Like it looks good during the day, but at night it's just like it's way too quiet.
Oh,
I always feel like Michael Myers is sitting there creeping or some shit. You never know if you're being watched.
Bro, I deliver DoorDash and Uber Eats for a living, man. And sometimes I go to those gated communities where they have like these big ass houses and shit, but they're like in the woods though. Like it's a rural area, and there'll be a big ass sign that says bears, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So as I'm going to deliver to this nice ass house, bro, I'm dropping the food off, but it's pitch black dark. There's like no like street lights.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, and I swear to God, and I'll put it on Instagram too. And I actually recorded as I was walking back to my car, bro. A fucking big ass black bear walked across the parking lot, and I froze.
What is happening?
I've done delivery jobs where it's like there's certain areas where it's just they're in the woods or like they're They driveway and stuff like this, all wooded. So it's like it's super fucking dark. I'm just like, bro, this is a perfect scenario for me to get killed by a serial killer right now.
Look, hey, look, Rashad, I've already taken a liking to you based upon this conversation, and I'm gonna need you to quit because I don't want nothing to happen to you, man. Like that.
Oh, but that'd be the first people that get targeted in horror movies. Is like the people delivering pizzas. They just doing their job. They just get caught up into some bullshit. Like,
well,
that's nothing to do with me.
Well, that's why I walk backwards to the door. Then I put the bag down, run my big ass back in the car, and close that shit. Quick,
no, you could have just punched. You could have fought the bear. You know what I'm saying? Could punch his nose. It would have ran away.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's gonna be a supernatural.
Or do what people do on I see on TikTok. They'll like growl at the bear, like roar, get away, roar. I was like, I don't think that's gonna work.
Wow, humans took that too seriously when they said that animals understand the idea of a challenge, looking them in the eyes, seeming bigger and more powerful than them, because they're not smart enough to know that they are bigger and stronger. They just do stuff off of instinct. Right. So that could happen, but that's unrealistic. Usually a bear, you growl at it, it's just gonna look at you like, really? It's gonna swipe all your intestines.
Terrence, I seen on TikTok, like there's this chick that live streams, right? And she'll just have a bear come up to her door all the time. She'll have the door wide open. It seemed friendly, but I was like, bro, I'm not playing around with nature like that.
Nah.
I'm playing around with God like that.
Nah. Yeah, hey, Perp, I'm with you, but you know what, man? Like, animals is as much as someone could say, like, oh man, they're faster, stronger, they could be terrifying and stuff. I was like, man, with all these humans running around doing all this crazy shit, I might take my chance with a bear, man. I'm just saying.
That's true. Yeah, with that being said, this was a great way to kind of end the first season of Horror Never Dies. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Share this out because that'll let me know, like, oh yeah, you want a season 2 because I got that already. You know what I'm saying, locked and loaded in the chamber. It just all depends on how this does over time.
Yes, sir.
But Rashad, what you got going next to your channel?
All right. Well, it's too late for me to start editing because I'm not editing my Demons review tonight because I don't want to look at that movie until the sun comes up. All right, because I don't need no nightmares. So I'm gonna be dropping my Demons reaction most likely Monday or early Halloween. That was an interesting reaction, bro. Because I knew what to expect with that movie, kind of, but it kind of exceeded my expectations, bro. Like the amount of body horror in that movie,
fantastic,
was insane, man. God, that was some intense shit. So yeah, so I got that coming up, and then me and my son are gonna be continuing our Ninja Turtle reaction. So being that October's wrapping up, we're gonna go back to we're gonna do Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. And what do I got coming after that? And I just dropped my review for Freddy vs. Jason a couple of days ago, so that concludes my Elm Street series review. And that's about it. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's crazy that like Halloween is like right there. Yeah, like this year is just like blitzing by. It's crazy how like we were just. I just feel like we were just in 2022. Now we're already like almost 2 months away from fucking 2024 already. So it's like damn, time just.
And bro, I can't wait for my son to get a little older because he's 7. He'll be 8 next month, and I'm slowly putting him on to some of the light horror. So like we watched Monster Squad the other day, which he dug. We watched Beetlejuice, and then I try to show him
No, I'm saying, you're better than me. Like when my nephew was like 4 or 5, I showed him Night of the Living Dummy, and just that didn't go so well. But
I'll learn my lesson from my daughter, man. Like, because my daughter is very protective. Like, she's older, so she's very protective of him, right? So when she found out that I showed him Lost Boys, like, she swole up on me. She's like, "No, you must be stopped. You're not gonna do to him what you did to me." And I said,
she said you must be stopped, huh?
Yeah, she said, those are her exact words, Terrence. She said, "You must be stopped. You're not gonna do to him what you did to me." Yeah. So if she finds out, like, if she found out that I try to show him Halloween, like, yeah, she might try to fight me. But I tried showing him the original Halloween, and it kind of got him a little bit too bad, so I stopped it. I said, okay, you're not ready for this yet. So yeah, I'm waiting till he gets a little older to show him the good stuff. But right now we're doing the light stuff, like Gremlins, shit like that.
Okay. So, Terrence, you gonna be popping up on any other streams in the future?
I think next week I'll be doing something with KDOT if that goes according to plan. But other than that, don't really have anything scheduled per se. Because usually a lot of the stuff is random, and I just been planning my official return December 31st, 2023.
Nice.
And I got a bunch of stuff scheduled from December 31st, 2023, all the way up till December of 2024, right? So, I got pretty much the whole year planned out. Like, I'm trying to, do something that's never been done on the platform and take it over so that way they can change the name from YouTube to Terrence. I'm trying to
Terrence,
take all this shit over and
what?
that's
that T tube.
Yeah.
52,
Yeah.
I dig it. I dig it.
Other than that, though, I appreciate, talking to you guys. And, I feel like it's been long overdue, especially with Perp. Perp, he just be leaving me in the darkness fighting the demons
Nah.
alone.
I just don't be streaming like that as like I used to. But like next year, I definitely want to kind of stream a little bit more. So.
Yeah, and with fairness though, Perp did try to get me at different times, but I was, doing different transitions. I was like, I ain't doing it right now. And,
yeah, everybody busy, man. Everybody busy.
So,
yeah,
a lot of
we all adulting. Yeah, but as far as me, this gonna be our last stream until like 2 weeks from now. I'm gonna be doing my last Attack on Titan live discussion because Attack on Titan ends next week. It's gonna be very sad. Going to be in mourning. And then in December we got the Perp Show Awards, so y'all might see Terrence back for that if he wants to just kind of tune in. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna be fun. Still trying to put the finishing touches on certain things, waiting for certain movies and shows to kind of come out to kind of finalize my list. Things may change, like I'll put out teaser trailers and stuff as far as like what I got as the categories. Things might change leading up to the actual award show, but it's definitely gonna be a fun one, like it is every year, and I can't wait for y'all to check it out. You know what I'm saying? But this was really fun, cool little experiment. I'm able to kind of get in my bag and talk horror with people that are also horror fans. So if there's a season 2, we'll get some more people in here. But so.
Perp, real quick, I wanted to run something by you and Rashad. Like, I want y'all to let me know if you think this is messed up or if you think it's funny, right? So some years ago, I was dealing with one of my friends, and she's really terrified of Chucky, right? But she don't know a lot about him, but she sees him and she just like runs for the hills, right? So she was on her computer. And I was like, yeah, no, we ain't got to watch Chucky. I could see how he's a little scary and stuff. And I was like, but there are, certain films and things that I want you to get into. So I told her to go on Google, and she was like, yeah, what you got in mind? And I was like, type in Charles Lee Ray. That's a good movie right there. Now, she had no idea that that's, Chucky's real name. So she typed in Charles Lee Ray, and all the images came up, and then she then jumped out of that chair so fast and hard that she almost went through the roof. And then she just started smacking me like, damn it, Terrence. And I was just laughing, and then she was like, get out and stuff. And
that's funny.
But after a minute, I gave her a hug, and I had to do it because
it's fun to torment people.
Yeah, I've done it my whole life. I've tormented my brother and my sister. Hell, I did the whole Candyman, the mirror thing. I made it up to 4, and then she tackled me. You know what I'm saying? I scared my little brother in the shower. Like, he was taking a shower, and I grabbed a knife, and I did the whole psycho thing. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, from that point on, every time he took a shower, Shad, where you at? I'm like, I'm in the room, man.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Yeah, I wanted to know what y'all thought about that.
Yeah, that's dope. But like I said, I appreciate y'all popping up. I appreciate everybody that's popped up on previous episodes. Rashad here every episode. You know what I'm saying? Q Reviews was here. Low Key Cave. You know, Terrence. What else was here? Oh yeah. Mr. Rogers Reviews. Everybody. You know what I'm saying? Shouts to y'all. And yeah, make sure you hit that like button on the replay. Shouts to people hitting the replay button and stuff like that, and continuing to support the channel and the different content that I got. But until next time, I'll see y'all next one.
Peace.